The last thing I feel is my keyboard against my cheek. Not pain, just tired. The kind of tired that goes all the way down. My chest does something wrong and complicated. The office lights smear sideways, and some distant part of me thinks about the spreadsheet I didn't finish. Then nothing. Overwork. That's it. That's my whole ending. A guy who died of Tuesday. Then I open my eyes on a wooden ceiling I have never seen in my life, and a stranger's entire childhood kicks the door in and moves into my skull. I'm 10 years old. My name is Kiyama Renjiro, and I have just been dropped into the ninja anime. Not the fun part of it either. Not the part with the ramen and the friendship speeches. I land in the Third Shinobi World War, the stretch where human life is worth roughly one blade of grass and villages feed children into a meat grinder to keep the front line staffed. Cool. Very cool. Love that for me. Let me read you my character sheet because it's a disaster. I'm an Uchiha. Sounds elite. Red murder eyes, famous clan, big scary name. Except this particular Uchiha is the clearance rack of the bloodline. His parents just died on the front. He got the news, cried so hard his heart quit, and died on the floor. Which is where I come in, sliding into a body nobody wanted like a rental car with the check engine light on. His talent for the Sharingan? Garbage. And I want to be precise about that word. He got the single most reliable trigger in the entire clan. Dead parents, grief strong enough to kill him, and his eyes stayed brown. That's not needs work. That's getting struck by lightning and complaining the flash was rude. Chakra? A little. Emphasis on little. And the whole power system here runs on how close your DNA sits to one specific alien space goddess. Mine sits about as close as a gas station sandwich, so I do the only rational thing available. I lie on the floor and complain to the ceiling. I say it out loud, half joking, the way you do. I wish I had a golden finger, a cheat, a system, anything. And a pale blue screen unfolds in my vision. I sit up so fast I nearly finish what the last kid started. Name, Kiyama Renjiro. Age 10, physique 5, spirit 7, chakra 60. Bloodline, Sharingan, not awakened. 51 out of 100. Skills, none. A stat panel. An actual video game stat panel, hovering in a war zone, and nobody else can see it. I could kiss whatever cosmic intern approved this ticket. Now, a menu is exciting. A menu is not a superpower. So I poke it. I try the clone technique this body supposedly knew. Nothing happens. But the panel twitches, and a line writes itself in. Clone technique, level 0, 1 out of 100. Huh, I do it again. It fails again. The number goes from 1 to 3. And that's the moment my entire life reorganizes around one idea. It's proficiency. It's grind. This whole world is secretly an RPG, and I'm the only person alive who can see the experience bar. Every rep counts. Every failure counts. The panel doesn't reward talent. It rewards showing up, over and over, past the point where a normal person would quit, which means it rewards the exact skill set of a dead office worker. I am, at long last, qualified for something. There's a bonus, too. When I dig into the dead kid's muscle memory instead of flailing on my own, I get 2 or 3 points instead of 1. His body already knew this. The panel just lets me cash his corpse in for my own experience, quietly, before anyone notices the new tenant is behaving strangely. Because that part matters more than the power does. This world has mind readers, interrogators, people whose entire job is noticing when a ninja is not the ninja he says he is. If I slip, they take me to a basement and open my head like a coconut. So step 1 is not strength. Step 1 is camouflage. I burn my chakra dry. I refine more. I burn it again. Somewhere in there, a second skill appears purely because I sat still and breathed correctly, which tells me the panel is generous about what counts as effort. By dawn, I have 2 skills and a plan. Then I go to school. Yeah, ninja kindergarten. My parents are dead. I'm holding a cheat code, and I have to raise my hand in class like a normal 10-year-old because skipping school gets you a knock on the door. And luckily, the kid I'm wearing was a moody little rain cloud, so silent and weird is exactly on brand. Best acting job of my life is playing a boy who was always like this. The teacher's a bored woman named Yamada Haruna. She keeps glancing at me. My soul leaves my body every time. Turns out she's not on to me at all. She just got the memo that my parents died, and she's performing the legal minimum of concern before moving on. In a village at war, the guidance counselor's entire toolkit is a shrug. Afternoons are where it gets interesting. They pair us off for combat practice, and the rule is simple. Keep fighting until I say stop. Get knocked down, get up. Keep getting knocked down. Wonderful. Very nurturing. I get paired with a commoner kid named Ling Xiaolong, who fights like my ancestors personally insulted his mother. Vicious little gremlin. He punches me in the face inside the first half second, and I let him, because every bruise is experience points. By the end of the day, I'm a walking eggplant. Both eyes swelling, ribs filing complaints, and my panel says, Basic Taijutsu, level 0, 35 out of 100. From 1 beating. That's the fastest thing I own. I could kiss Ling Xiaolong too, honestly, though he'd read that as an opening and knee me. This becomes the whole strategy. I don't dodge. I optimize. Any world that pays me for getting hit is a world I can farm, 1 black eye at a time. That night, I grind clones until the tank's empty. Then refine. Then grind. Cardboard. refine, grind. Remember that word, cardboard. It comes back. Meanwhile, something is watching my window. I don't know it yet, but every night a full-grown Uchiha with 3 spinning commas in his eyes perches outside my house, stares at me, takes notes, and vanishes. Not a creep, a professional creep. The clan wants to know whether the sad orphan is going to pop his Sharingan under all this grief. Losing a nobody costs them nothing. Awakening a Sharingan is striking oil. So they watch, and they specifically instruct my teacher not to comfort me, because grief is the fertilizer. Wonderful people, the Uchiha, family values. A week in, somebody finally knocks. A clan Jonin named Kiyama Kaito, delivering my dead parents' pension. He watches my face carefully, so I pull the dead kid's grief off the shelf, wear it for 30 seconds, and take the envelope. Door shuts. Face comes off like a mask. I never met these people. I'll put flowers on the grave once a year out of professional courtesy, assuming I live, which is a big assuming. Then I count it. 1,110,000 taels. Both parents were Chunin, 500,000 each, plus a monthly clan stipend. Not one coin skimmed. I'm almost touched. Nobody embezzled from the dead couple's kid. That's the Uchiha for you. Monsters to outsiders, weirdly wholesome in-house. Except for the one guy who eventually murders everybody. But that's a later patch. 1,000,000 taels. Time to buy power. I marched to the Nara pharmacy expecting secret medicines, forbidden pills, cultivation cheats, and the single best thing money can buy for a man in my situation turns out to be military ration pills, the cardboard. 1 pill equals 1 meal. It's what ninja choke down in the field so they don't have to stop and cook, and it tastes like a roof shingle marinated in regret. But it means I can skip eating, skip cooking, and pour every waking hour into refining chakra and grinding jutsu. So I buy them in bulk. The shop kid stares at me like I just ordered 900 servings of despair, which, accurate. I eat these things for weeks. My entire diet becomes sadness in tablet form. My stomach files grievances. I ignore them. Ask me how the great Uchiha prodigy fuels his legendary rise. It's cardboard. It's always cardboard. Then I finally sit down and read my dead parents' scrolls, which I'd been too busy to open. 3 fire jutsu, standard elite Uchiha starter pack, and 2 illusion scrolls. The first is a Sharingan technique, shelved, no eyes yet. The second one stops me cold. It's called Heart Reflection Jutsu, and the deeper I read, the more my face does that thing where hope sneaks in the back door. Because on paper, this technique is a scam. It costs as much to learn as an A-rank illusion, and performs like a bargain bin C-rank. Miserable value. Nobody sane would touch it, except that's not what it's for. Some old Uchiha visionaries got tired of the Sharingan being a coin flip that only pays out through trauma, so they reverse-engineered a gentler road. They built a technique that imitates the exact brain and chakra pattern of an awakening, over and over, to coax the eyes open on purpose. No dead loved ones required, just repetition. And it worked, sort of. It nudges the eyes along. The catch is that it's brutal to learn, and the payoff is so slow that every Uchiha who tried it quit in disgust. Not one confirmed awakening, ever. It became the clan's embarrassing failed science project, filed under nice idea, never speak of it. My parents kept it anyway, which tells me something about who they were. They wanted more than the ordinary life, and they died before they could finish the work. But here's the thing they never had. The thing that turns their failure into my winning ticket. I can see the bar. The reason nobody sticks with this technique is that it gives 0 feedback. You grind for months and feel like you're accomplishing nothing, so you stop. But I don't feel my way forward. I read the number. 51 out of 100. The second this thing moves the needle, I'll know. And a man who can see the finish line never quits the race. That's the whole ballgame. A failed family project plus the only visible progress bar in the world. My parents built the engine and died in the driver's seat. I'm just the guy who found the key still in the ignition. So I stop moping and start farming. 2 weeks of it. Cardboard, refine, grind, sleep, repeat. I run heart reflection jutsu until my brain is a wet towel, and the panel keeps its promises. My chakra pool nearly doubles. My fireball climbs. I'm not strong, but I'm compounding, and compounding is the only rich guy trick that works on a broke 10-year-old. Meanwhile, upstairs, the clan delivers its verdict on me. The window creep files his report. No explosive chakra spike. Spirits too calm. The kid's a dud. The Grand Elder sighs the sigh of a man who bet on a horse and got a chair, then waves it off. Stop watching him. He's nobody. That's my file closing. The pension was my last audition, and I bombed it by not screaming loud enough. No bodyguard, no special treatment, no genius track. Just me, the dud, left to the wolves. Which is exactly how I want it, because their entire read is built on a lie I'm feeding them. They think I'm weak. I've got a stat panel, a family cheat, and the patience of a man who once did quarterly taxes recreationally. Their contempt is camouflage I could never have bought. Let the tallest tree get chopped. I'll be the shrub nobody notices. Half a month later, they change the rules on us. The teacher gathers the class and says it flat. The annual assessment is now a graduation exam. Pass it and you're a real ninja. Half the room cheers. Actual cheering. They think they won something. I look at these babies bouncing with joy and think, sweethearts, this is not a promotion. This is conscription. The front is a meat grinder and it's low on meat, so they lowered the age on the meat. If I could stay in school forever, I would. School has walls, but there's no dodging it. Flunk on purpose? In a village full of people who can see your chakra with their eyes, one glance and they'd catch it. Big pool, mediocre skills, that doesn't read as lazy. That reads as spy. And spies get the coconut treatment. So I take the exam. And I ace it, smiling on the inside like a lunatic. It runs 3 days. Day 1 is written, code breaking, map reading, general theory. I haven't written an essay in over a decade across 2 lifetimes, but flattering an institution is a skill that transfers between worlds, so I turn in something appropriately worshipful about the will of fire and move on. Day 2 is throwing and hand-to-hand. I put every kunai in the center ring and take a perfect score, then take another one in taijutsu. The room makes noise about it. I keep my face bored. The scoring tells me more than the tests do. The bar this year is on the floor. Half these kids would have washed out in peacetime. Day 3 is the one that matters. 3 basic techniques, and they've rigged it, which is the giveaway. Instead of the teacher naming which technique you perform, you choose, which means anyone with 1 working jutsu and 2 broken ones simply picks the working one and passes. In any normal year, that loophole doesn't exist. Our teacher isn't stupid. He was told to leave it there. Konoha isn't testing us. It's stocking shelves. I do my clone in 3 seconds flat, get my nod, sit down. Some girl shouts that Renjiro is amazing. I keep the aloof mask welded on. Amazing. Sure, it's the lowest ranked technique in the game, and I ground it like a man possessed for a month straight. Ask me how I know it's easy. I spend the rest of the day thinking about the eyes cheat instead of listening, because that night I'm going to find out whether the thing my parents died before finishing actually works. It does. Barely. It takes hours and roughly 2,000 chakra to move the awakening counter by a single point. 51 to 52. 1 point. For a night's work. And I sit there in the dark, grinning like an idiot, because 1 point is not 0. 1 point means the road exists, and a road that exists is a road I can walk, however long it is, because I'm the only person alive who can see the mile markers. That's the moment I stop worrying about whether I'll survive this world. That's the moment it becomes a schedule. Then team assignment, and I meet the 2 people I'm apparently stuck with. Team 17. Me, a loud kid named Daichi, and a quiet girl named Akari. Daichi is a golden retriever with a headband, wants to be Hokage, hates cilantro with the intensity most people reserve for war crimes, talks enough for a village. Both his parents are careful, technical, quiet ninja, and somehow they produced this. Nature is amazing. Akari is the opposite, barely audible, physically weak, book smart, wants to be a healer like the legendary Himiko. She flinches when she talks, and I decide immediately that these 2 are teammates and not friends, comrades at a professional distance. The war kills people. Getting attached just digs bigger holes. It's a good plan. It does not survive contact with these 2. Our sensei shows up last, Tanaka. Middle-aged, scar down his face, 37, likes shogi, hates people who don't follow rules. He runs us to a training ground at a pace that nearly kills Akari, then announces that keeping up was already the first test. Welcome to Ninja Daycare, where the teacher's love language is cardio trauma. Then the real test. He holds up a scroll. Take it from me before noon. I won't attack first, and I'll cap myself at Jonin level. There's a mountain an hour out. Come at me however you like. Daichi despairs immediately. Fair. 3 fresh Jonin mugging a Jonin is a plan that ends with us in the ground. But I'm not reading the odds. I'm reading the man. Rules. He said Jonin level, and he means it. This isn't a strength check. It's a can these gremlins think check. So we think. We chase him up the mountain, clearing his little traps, and corner him at the peak. Daichi and I rush him from both sides, while Akari rains steel to pin his feet. He dances through all of it, blocks my strike, dodges Daichi's, wearing that nice try kid smile. Then Daichi's hand darts for the scroll, way faster than before. Tanaka leans back, dodges it, relieved. That was close, he mutters. And then Daichi buries a kunai in his gut. Because it was never Daichi. It was me wearing Daichi's face. And the me who charged in first and cried out in shock? That was Daichi wearing mine. We swapped faces before we ever walked up the hill. He spent the entire fight watching the wrong hand. He poofs into smoke. Scroll hits the dirt. Got it. Then the plot twist. That Tanaka was a clone. The real one strolls out of the trees slow clapping. He countered our counter, and a mere shadow clone did it, which recalibrates my entire understanding of what a real Jonin is. But he's grinning. He asks why I stabbed to kill without hesitating. Simple, I tell him. You're a Jonin. A soft hit does nothing. The only version of this where the scroll changes hands is the one where we commit. He likes that answer far too much. We pass. And to celebrate the birth of Team 17, he buys us barbecue. Real food. Actual barbecue. After weeks of cardboard, I nearly weep into a grill. Best mission reward I have ever received, and I own a stat panel. Then it's back to the grind, and the mission log is all glamour. Picking up trash, finding lost pets, fetching herbs. D-rank busy work, the ninja version of an unpaid internship, but I turn the trash into gains. I figure out I can farm chakra control while I work, standing on the river's surface gathering garbage, holding chakra in my feet the whole time. Daichi catches me standing on water and short circuits. Tanaka spots it too and quietly upgrades his opinion of me again. Precise control means every jutsu costs less. Cheaper jutsu means more reps per day. More reps means more grind. Even garbage duty is experience if you stand on it correctly. That's the cheat in one sentence. Everyone else sees chores. I see a farm. And then Tanaka Tanaka decides we're ready for something with a body count. Our first C rank. Not an escort where you might get lucky and never draw a blade. A bandit extermination. On a hill charmingly named Little Black Mountain. The objective is printed plain. Kill all the bandits. No asterisks. Daichi goes quiet reading it. Akari goes white. They're 10. They've studied killing the way you study long division, and now the worksheet has a throat on it. And honestly, the floor tilts under me too. I grew up somewhere the scariest thing was a Monday. Some part of me still flinches at ending a person, but I know the math. In a world this cheap with lives, the guy who can't cross that line is just an early grave with a name tag. So I do the thing I'm good at. I talk myself into it. These are bandits. This is basically community service. My hands go steady. We hike out and I climb a tree with a cheap telescope I bought that morning because there's no scouting jutsu and I refuse to walk in blind. Tanaka just watches me be paranoid, and later I learn what he was thinking. Of the three of us, I'm the one most likely to survive. Not because I'm strong, because I'm careful. Out here, careful outlives talented. Then night falls and I go to work. I take the sentries first, silent, one at a time, and I make myself watch each one go, eyes open, no looking away, because I can't afford to be a person who flinches yet. Adapt to the rules or the rules bury you. So I watch a man's eyes go from confused to afraid to nothing. I file it. I move to the next house. Then Daichi and I split the camp. Calling it a camp is generous. It's 20 wooden shacks around a bigger wooden building. No wall, no gate, nothing. When I see that, I finally understand why they posted so many sentries out in the trees. They knew they had no defenses. Fear was the whole security system. We go building to building like the world's grimmest trick-or-treaters. The first shack is on the outer edge, which means the worst spot, which means one man lives in it. I ease the door open with a kunai and slip inside. He's asleep. I get a hand over his mouth and put the blade into his chest, and he opens his eyes. Confusion first, then pain, then fear, then nothing. I hold the eye contact the whole way through, all 4 stages. I make myself watch, because a man who looks away is a man still negotiating with himself, and I can't afford to be negotiating in 6 months. Then I step outside, check the dark, and pick the next one. I do it 4 more times, peer through the door crack, confirm the count, pry the latch, in and out. One of them never wakes up at all, which I decide is the better outcome for both of us. I move like a rumor through that camp, and the camp keeps sleeping. If it had stayed like that, this would have been the cleanest night of my life. It doesn't stay like that. I'm finishing my 10th when a scream tears open the whole hill. I don't flinch and I don't rush the kill. I finish the man under my hand properly, because a half-killed enemy behind you is how you die. And then I'm out the door. Across the camp, a bandit is running and shouting, one hand clamped to his throat, blood coming through his fingers. Somebody didn't cut deep enough. Then Daichi comes out of the dark behind him and puts a kunai through his back, and the shouting stops. But it's too late. The whole camp is awake now, and I can hear them scrambling inside the walls. So we stop being quiet. I kick a door off its frame and go through the 2 men inside before either one finds his weapon. Out. Next building. Same again. Daichi drops the pretense too, and we stop trying to be clever and start trying to be fast, because speed is the only advantage we have left. When the noise finally dies, the boss and 11 men are all that's left, clustered in the middle of the camp with their backs to each other. One of them takes one look at our headbands and starts screaming that we're ninja, that the ninja have come for them, that they're finished, which is interesting actually. In peacetime, these men wouldn't know a headband from a hat. But the war has been running long enough that even bandits have learned exactly what we are and exactly what happens when we show up. The boss slaps him across the face for it, spits, and gives a speech about how we're just 2 little brats and there's a dozen of them. I put 6 shuriken in the air before he finishes the sentence. Level 2 throwing is not a joke. He takes half a step and drops. His crew scatters like startled pigeons straight down the mountain path, which is where Akari is waiting, and where she nearly breaks. 2 of them come running at her. She drops the first with a kunai to the leg. The second hits his knees and starts begging. 2 kids at home, forced into this, never hurt anyone. Please, for the children. He kowtows so hard he opens his own forehead on the rocks, and Akari, decent, gentle Akari, freezes. Her whole face wobbles. She's 10, and a man is crying about his babies, and the mission says all of them. So I end it for her. A kunai through the beggar's throat, mid-plea. Then I walk to the other one and finish him too. Calm, no ceremony. She stares at me and stammers my name. Don't overthink a mission, I tell her. Don't forget the requirements. And I walk down the mountain. She stands there a long time before she whispers it back. Kill all the bandits. I want to be clear about something because it matters later. I'm not a rule-worshipping robot. I did that on purpose and not for the paperwork. I did it so Akari learns the lesson here, in a relatively safe yard, instead of on the day her mercy gets one of us killed. A begging enemy is still an enemy. Overthink the job and you make the kind of mistake that comes with a funeral. I need my teammates to work. Feelings later, survival first. Do I love it? No. But I filed away 24 dead men tonight and I'm still standing, so the method works. We regroup at the base. Tanaka reappears, sweeps his eyes over 3 blood-flecked children, and says 2 words. Not bad. Then he walks us home overnight, because sleeping in the open out here is how you don't wake up. I agree with every cell in my body. If I could live inside those village walls forever, I would. But that door is already closing. From here, the missions leave the village, and the village is the only safe thing left. Then the village stops asking nicely and ships us to the war. The morning we leave, Akari shows up with red puffy eyes she blames on oversleeping. It's not oversleeping. That's what saying goodbye to your family looks like when everyone involved can do the odds. Daichi babbles nonsense the entire time to keep her from crumbling, and I finally clock that his loud idiot routine is at least half deliberate. The kid isn't dumb. He's a shock absorber with legs. Kenshin Takashi, the third Hokage himself, gives us a stirring speech about fire and courage and the leaf. The children eat it up. The Jonin stand there with faces like tombstones, completely unmoved, because you don't inspire a man who has already waded through a river of corpses with a slogan. You inspire him with money or a cause. Words are for the kids who don't know yet. Then 400 of us march out. 30 Jonin, 60-odd special Jonin, and 3-something hundred Chunin and Genin, most of us barely house-trained. 2 weeks to clear the land of fire. Another week of non-stop drizzle to reach the land of rain, where the sun files for unemployment and never comes back. And then we hit the canyon. I am not a tactical genius, but even I can look at a deep, narrow canyon with high walls on both sides and think, that is the single most ambushable piece of real estate I have ever seen. The Jonin see it too, which means we're going through it anyway because Konoha's supply line is stretched so thin there's no other road. That fact alone tells me the war is going worse than anyone is saying out loud. We creep in slow, scouts sweep the cliffs, and for about a minute it almost works. Then a wall explodes, somebody screams ambush, and the canyon turns into a blender. Iwa Ninja, the rock village, and they came prepared in the most unpleasant way possible. Not one genin among them, all Chunin and up, elites, while we are a convoy of terrified children with a few adults sprinkled in for flavor. Their opening move is to drop the cliff on us. I catch it half a second early through my Sharingan, which I flick on just long enough to read the seals going into the rock, grab both teammates, haul us backward. A mountain's worth of stone lands where we were standing. A dozen genin don't move fast enough. Daichi thanks me from the bottom of his heart. Akari just goes pale. Then 100 rock ninja pour in from both ends and the real slaughter starts. And here's their strategy, and it is genuinely vile. They dive straight into our crowd and use our own genin as cover. Our Chunin can't cut loose with anything big without cooking their own kids. The Iwa elites have no such problem. So one side fights with both hands tied and the other side runs a turkey shoot. You can guess how that goes. I do the cold math instead of panicking. 1500 chakra, teammates who cannot carry themselves, and a big red trump card I refuse to show. So I don't play hero, I play accountant. Kill efficiently, keep my people close, and stall, because we're not far from main camp. Reinforcements are coming. All I have to do is not die until they show up. An Iwa Chunin erupts out of the ground beside me, kunai through the eye before he clears the dirt. His friend, a man named Sato Kenji, comes at me screaming about it, and we go blade to blade. He's good, adult reach, real experience. Our blades meet and I feel the whole problem in my wrists. He's bigger. In pure close combat, he is honestly a hair better than me, and we both figure that out at the same moment. He's thinking it too, I can see it. He came in furious about his friend, and now he's recalculating, because a genin isn't supposed to hold him for this long, and the boy in front of him isn't blinking. But I've got tricks he can't price in. The first is that I know what he wants. He wants distance. Chunin fight with techniques, and techniques need seals, and seals need a second and a half of being left alone. So I never leave him alone. Every time he backs off, I'm on him, cutting the retreat, forcing the exchange. A ninja who can't cast is just an angry guy with a knife. I keep him boxed until his face starts doing the thing faces do when a plan isn't working. Daichi and Akari help without being asked. Neither of them can threaten this man, but a shuriken from an unexpected angle doesn't have to threaten. It only has to make him flinch, and every flinch is another second he isn't casting. We do that for a while. It works. Then the battlefield does what battlefields do, and a shockwave from the Jonin fighting overhead knocks the rhythm out of everyone, and he takes the half second I couldn't deny him. He slams his palm down and the ground splits. A crack several meters wide comes at me like something alive, spreading in a fan, and the earth stops being a floor. I've got no leverage and nowhere to plant, and for one ugly heartbeat, I understand exactly why a technique like this exists. I flicker out of the radius with my heart in my mouth. If he'd had more chakra, or better mastery, I don't get out of that. Ask me how I know. I watched the crack pass through where my legs used to be. So I stop being careful with my hand. I close on him, and instead of the blade he's braced for, I stop short and burn 6 seals in a row and breathe out a spread of phoenix fireballs. They spatter across the ground around him, and he dances through them, and honestly, he does well. He comes out of it with scorched clothes and blisters instead of a funeral, which tells me my fire isn't developed enough yet to finish anyone who's paying attention. Fine, it wasn't supposed to finish him. It was supposed to make him look at the fire. Because while his eyes were full of burning flower petals, I was already building the second thing. And the second thing is the technique nobody in this world respects. The heart reflection jutsu, the failed clan project. The A rank illusion that performs like a bargain bin C rank, but I've ground it higher than any other skill I own. And a bad illusion cast at a very high level on a man whose attention is somewhere else is still an illusion. So I show him a picture, me throwing a kunai from his left. He reacts perfectly. He dodges a weapon that does not exist. And while he's committed to dodging a ghost, I throw the real one from where he isn't. It goes through his heart. He looks down, then up at me, at my arm still hanging at my side, at the fact that it never moved. Illusion, he says. Like a man solving a puzzle at the exact moment the answer stops being useful. Little late for the patch notes, buddy, but killing him fast was the point. 2 more Iwa Chunin abandon their kills and lock onto me, because I'm now the weird genin racking up bodies. 2 on 1, no Sharingan, and I finally can't win. I can only survive. They open a dozen shallow cuts on me. They start monologuing. Surrender, kid. Nobody's coming. And then somebody comes. The canyon goes quiet as a mountain of scales rises over the cliff edge. A serpent the size of a building, purple, horned. And standing on its skull, pale as paper, gold snake eyes, purple eyeshadow, looking like a goth who found a genie lamp, is Kageyama, one of the legendary 3 and Konoha's commander for this entire front. He clears his throat and casually staples a dozen EWA Jonin to the ground with a wave. The elite rock ninja who were carving us into ribbons 2 minutes ago turn into stray dogs and bolt. A single top-tier monster just flipped an entire battle by showing up. I file that image away with a note attached. Get to that. When the dust settles, we've lost over half our genin in about 12 minutes. Most of the bodies are kids Daichi and Akari knew by name. I got lucky. I didn't know any of them, so I feel almost nothing, and I hate that I noticed that about myself. Daichi, quiet for once, asks if we're going to die out here someday. I open my mouth to say no, and I can't, because I know how this war goes, and no is a lie I can't sell even to a 10-year-old. So I give him the only true thing I have. Don't overthink it. Just try your hardest to stay alive. He murmurs it back like a prayer. Try to live. Yeah, that's the whole religion out here. We reach main camp by dark, and Tanaka, in his infinite mercy, tells us the next stretch is light duty. Adjust to the battlefield, adjust your head, no heavy missions. Which to me translates to one glorious word, farmable. Because a month of low-stakes patrol is a month of nights alone in a tent with my cheat and a bag of cardboard. I don't waste a second of it. I pour chakra into the eyes cheat and watch the bar climb. I pour it into my 3 fire techniques and level all of them. And somewhere in that month, quietly, in a tent, in the rain, it happens. My Sharingan opens. 1 comma first. A single red tomo spins into place, and the world sharpens like somebody cleaned a lens I didn't know was dirty. If the old view was standard definition, this is high definition. Everything slows a half beat. Everything gets legible. And here's the part that makes the whole cheat sing. The instant the eyes open, the eyes cheat gets better at opening them further. Every rep pushes harder now. What was crawling starts jogging. 1 tomo becomes 2. 2 tomo. The bounty magnet. The thing enemy villages would happily carve out of a child's skull. So obviously, I tell nobody. I weld it shut behind my ribs. The clan thinks I'm a dud. The battlefield thinks I'm disposable. Good. A hidden knife cuts deeper than a drawn one. By the end of that month, I'm not the kid who shipped out. Fire jutsu at level 2. Body, flicker faster. Chakra pool maxed out for this body, which the panel gently informs me means I've squeezed this lemon dry until I get a better lemon. And a working red trump card no living soul has seen. I don't feel safe. Let me be clear about that. I feel like a man holding a winning lottery ticket in a city full of muggers. But for the first time since I woke up on that floor, I feel like I might get to spend it. And then, one night well past midnight, the outpost blows up. I'm out of the tent fully armed before I'm fully awake. Explosions in 3 directions, which tells me everything. This isn't infiltration. Nobody sneaking lights up an entire forest. This is a raid, coordinated, aimed at our nothing little outpost that has no strategic value whatsoever. And that's what's wrong with it. Why throw this many bodies at a target worth nothing? I don't have the answer yet. Hold on to the question. Our squad leader splits us smart. He leaves 1 strong Jonin behind with an owl summon to relay everything to main camp and marches the rest of us toward the fighting. We get close, he throws up a hand, everyone freezes. The forest goes dead silent. The kind of silent where even the insects know something is about to eat them. Then the trees vomit 100 kunai at us. Our leader blows them all back with a wind jutsu strong enough to flatten a grove. Out of the wreckage steps 24 Iwa ninja in 6 teams, every captain in a Jonin coat. We are outnumbered and outranked. On paper, this is where Team 17 becomes a plaque. But there's an unspoken rule out here. Unless someone has a crushing advantage, Jonin don't hunt genin. Because the second you start slaughtering the other side's children, they slaughter yours. And then neither village has an army in 10 years. So the big dogs pair off with the big dogs, and the killing floor for the little ones stays technically survivable. Which leaves me on cleanup with the enemy genin. And I am very, very good at cleanup. There's a chatty young Iwa kid who keeps talking during the fight. He even asks what I'm muttering about when I check my chakra and mumble, "That's enough." Sharp little guy. Pays attention, so I reward the attention. I close while he's mid-sentence, flip my grip, and go for his throat. He dodges back, touches his neck, and gets that beautiful flash of "I'm alive" in his eyes. Then he looks down at the explosive tag on his chest. The light goes out of him before the tag does. 6. That's how many Iwa Genin I put down in a row. They sent Genin to handle Genin. They forgot to check whether one of the Genin was running a cheat. I don't enjoy it. I don't look away either. One of them begs me not to, right at the end, and I do it anyway, because out here, mercy is a debt your teammates pay. I finish the pair on Daichi, then the 3 of us clear the pair on Akari, and for one breath, we're actually ahead. Then the body count gets noticed. 3 Iwa Chunin drop what they're doing and come straight at me. I tell Daichi and Akari to hold the left one. I take the middle, and I'm managing. Barely, but managing. And that's when the boss music starts. A Jonin-coded Iwa ninja peels off the main brawl and walks at me. Slow, deliberate. His name is Mizuki Riku. And I make my first real mistake of the night. I saw him earlier using Earth Release, so I filed him as an Earth guy. Just an Earth guy. A knockoff Chunin in a nice coat. I lure him away from the crowd because whatever happens next, I want fewer witnesses to my eyes. We race into the woods. He catches me, and I learn what I got wrong. He blocks my kunai with a short sword, smiles, and lightning explodes down the blade. My hand goes dead. My kunai hits the dirt. Before I can create space, his sword opens my chest, and the wound sears itself shut from the lightning riding the steel, which is not mercy. It stops the bleeding. Sure. It also half paralyzes me. He hit a second element the entire time. He's not an Earth guy. He's a special Jonin who's been playing possum, and I walked into it because I got lazy about reading a man before fighting him. Lesson noted. In blood, literally. So I stop being clever and play my card. I open the Sharingan. His eyes go wide. Not from fear, from greed. Because a live Sharingan carries a bounty on the black market and inside his own village, and he's already counting the payout for my corpse and my eyes. That hunger is useful. It makes a man reckless. I catch his gaze for half a second and hit him with raw hypnosis, just long enough to fling shuriken and buy distance. He shakes it off fast. He's too experienced. But I don't need him charmed. I need him off balance. And now I can see. That's the real gift of these eyes, not the mind tricks, the sight. Suddenly his every move is telegraphed a half beat early, and my mediocre fire jutsu and my kunai work become surgical. So I chain it. Fireball. He dodges. Kunai out of the smoke with a tag on the back, he leaps. Body flicker to a new tree, phoenix fire raining exactly where he's about to land. Every ball placed by eyes that read the future. I pin an escape lane with a kunai trailing near invisible steel wire, loop it around a tree and around a target, and send a line of fire down the wire like a fuse. Wire. Fire. Done. I'm winning. And because I'm winning, he does the thing desperate men do. He fakes his own death. He eats a phoenix hit, plays gravely wounded, coughs, struggles to stand, baiting me in for the kill. And I go. Because I've decided to end it. Except I clocked something earlier. In one blink, his chakra dropped by half. Half. That's a Shadow Clone's price tag, so I know there are 2 of them out here, and I know the wounded one at my feet is Theater. When the second Mizuki comes screaming out of the dark behind me to gut me while I'm distracted, I'm already moving. I slip behind the wounded decoy, tell him he finally showed up, and step back. The decoy panics and moves to break the illusion off his real body. Too late, because while all that was happening, I locked his real body in the shackling stakes illusion, the one that pins you with a dozen rusty iron nails you know are fake and cannot escape anyway. He's frozen, and there's a burning explosive tag on his back I planted 3 moves ago. The fire takes both of them, clone and man, and lights the dark like a small, ugly sunrise. Then I let myself breathe, and cough, and feel exactly how close that was. Because let me be honest about that fight. On paper, I won clean. In reality, if I hadn't opened the Sharingan early, his opening combo kills me. If I hadn't caught that chakra drop, his ambush kills me. I didn't beat a special Jonin because I'm stronger than a special Jonin. I beat him because I could see, because he told me his whole plan by accident, and because I refused to walk into a fight without a card I've never shown. That's the win. First solo kill above my weight class. First time these eyes were fully open in a real fight. And I stand there in the burnt woods, chest scorched shut, holding his lightning sword, feeling like a man who cheated at a game with real stakes and got away with it. But cheating leaves a trail. I sit in that forest 2 hours before I trust it, then let a patrol find me. And back at camp, I learned the night was bigger than my little duel. The raid on our outpost was a feint. So were the raids on all the neighboring outposts. While we were busy holding a line that didn't matter, the real Iwa force, with Sand Ninja backing them, hit main camp itself. 2 villages, holding hands, punching Konoha in the mouth. We held the camp, barely. Kageyama saw to that. But the price is written on my sensei. Tanaka's right arm is gone, his sword arm. Of the 4 Jonin who fought beside us, only he and 1 other lived. Our squad leader is dead. Half our people are dead. Daichi and Akari survived only because the man guarding our tents came running with an owl and a bad attitude. Tanaka assumed I was dead. When word came in that I'd not only lived but killed the special Jonin hunting me, he assumed it was an imposter. I tell the story carefully, heavy emphasis on the enemy's arrogance and my caution, plus a lot of vague hand-waving about how nobody ever saw Mizuki's real strength anyway. Because here's the thing about killing a man in secret, he's not around to correct the record. His true power is now whatever I say it was. And who exactly is going to stand up for a dead rock ninja? The lie holds. For now. But again, in with a Chunin's chakra pool who quietly ends special Jonin is a math problem. Sooner or later, somebody does the math. I keep his lightning sword, sturdy, chakra conductive, completely wasted on me until my fire gets good enough to make it burn. And I spend the recovery downtime the only way I know how. I cash in battlefield merit for a real sword style, Konoha style, and start grinding. And here the cheat teaches me something that rebuilds my whole plan. My maxed basic taijutsu doesn't just sit there when I outgrow it, it gets eaten. Absorbed directly into the higher sword style, which then rockets up the bar because it's essentially doing a child's homework with a college degree. Same family skills feed each other. Level one thing to the top first, then the next one learns at triple speed. I'd been leveling all three fire jutsu at once like an idiot, splitting the buff 3 ways. Rookie mistake. From now on, I specialize, max, then branch. And the sword pays a bonus I didn't see coming. When it breaks past its wall, that warm, bone-deep surge hits me again, and my physique takes up a point, which cracks my chakra ceiling open again, which means more fuel, which means faster eyes. One gear turns the next. The whole build is finally a machine instead of a pile of parts. Then the war throws me back in before I'm done tinkering. They ship 100 of us to a frontline stronghold, a dead little town where the only remaining residents are corpses in the rubble, and the streets smell like it. I hate it. It's the front. No fast support if things go wrong. But you don't tell main camp no. So I go and I pray the posting is quiet. For a while, it is. The Iwa ninja across from us are twitchy and restrained, scared of payback after Kageyama got embarrassed twice. They watch and they run, which suits me perfectly. Why fight to the death when you can farm? I spar Tanaka daily with the sword and my style climbs toward Jonin tier. He tells me I've hit a wall and need to grind it out patiently. I nod respectfully. On the inside, I'm looking at a bar 3 points from breaking, thinking, what wall? Then, on the last night of the rotation, main camp drops an order that isn't a request. Kageyama's revenge is on. Every frontline stronghold hits its Iwa counterpart simultaneously. Tonight, we attack the rock stronghold 20 kilometers out. I'm annoyed on a cosmic level. One more day and I'd have rotated home to grind in peace. Instead, I'm crawling through rain toward an enemy village at midnight. It goes sideways before it starts. Someone on the south team gets spotted, an explosion goes up early, and Tanaka audibles us into a charge. Then the ground under my feet clicks, that tiny, wrong tremor. I felt it before. I grab both teammates and haul us sideways, screaming at everyone to watch the ground, half a heartbeat before the earth splits open and swallows the slow kids whole. Rock spikes erupt like a garden of knives. They threaded the trap around the Jonin on purpose, aimed it entirely at the Chunin and Genin, so nobody senior felt it coming. My shout is the only reason we don't lose the whole squad in 10 seconds. Ask me how I know. I counted the ones who listened and the ones who didn't. Tanaka peels off a Jonin to hold their Jonin and splits the rest of us. And here's the fun part. He drops me, a Genin, into an all-Chunin infiltration team to find and blow the enemy supply depot. The 3 Chunin don't object, because I've spent a month proving I punch above my rank, but only I know the real reason he slotted me in. I'm his hidden knife, his surprise for the moment it matters, which I respect. Sneaking into a warehouse beats trading blows on a wall any day. We slip inside, and this is where I get my first real scare that has nothing to do with a blade. One of my Chunin, a half-blood Yamanaka named Hayato, runs a sensing technique to map the building. When it sweeps over me, his eyes snap open and lock onto me with pure, "What are you?" He plays it off. It's nothing, he says. It is absolutely not nothing. His technique counts nearby people and reads their strength by chakra volume. And mine, at 11 years old, with the Sharingan hidden and my tank deliberately topped off, reads like a disguised Jonin standing at his elbow. I keep my face flat and think one very clear thought in his direction. I hope you don't connect that number to a red pair of eyes. And if you do, I hope you never tell a soul. He doesn't know why, but he shivers and scoots a few steps away from the creepy child. Smart man. Then we work, because a warehouse won't blow itself. We hit a Genin squad guarding the front, and I lead, because leading is what the hidden knife does. Their kunai volley comes in. I stand in front of the team and swat every last one out of the air with the sword, clean, while the 3 Chunin pour in behind me. I close on their Chunin before he finishes the thought so fast. Suppress him with a sword style that outclasses him by a full rank. A teammate's kunai finishes the sandwich. The Genin fold in under 2 minutes. Then the Yamanaka reads the survivor's mind and we get the location. Underground, center of the village, room 107. We take the corridor, and the corridor is a trap. The door opens and a dozen kunai come out at head height. We all hit the walls. Then the buzzing starts. Explosive tags, already lit, sitting in the doorway. Nobody panics. We talked about this on the way in. An enemy squad that heard a fight upstairs and had 2 minutes to prepare is going to booby trap the only entrance, because that's what I would do. We're already moving before the first one goes. 4 of us into side rooms. Doors shut. The hallway detonates. Fire comes down the corridor like water down a pipe. The walls shake. Dust falls off the ceiling in sheets. Then we come back out into a corridor that's now charcoal, and we do it to them. 4 kunai, 4 tags, wrapped and lit and thrown through the doorway of 107 all at once, on a silent 3 count. Somebody inside shouts a warning. It doesn't help. The room goes up. Flames punch out the doorway and scorch our faces from 3 meters away, because in a sealed space, an explosive tag does considerably more than it does outdoors. I go in first through the smoke. Shuriken come at me out of it. I cut them all down without slowing because I can see them and they cannot see me. Then my teammate calls 2 o'clock, and there's a Chunin half out of the floor hatch, having used the underground entrance itself as a bomb shelter. Smart, not smart enough. I throw 6 shuriken, some fast, some slow. 2 of them clip each other mid-air and change lanes entirely. 4 find Rock Ninja, none of them fatal, all of them ending the fight. My teammates close the rest in a few breaths, then we're in. A 200 square meter underground pantry. Food, tools, medicine, and rack after rack of pre-made explosive tags, which is genuinely thoughtful of them since it means we don't have to bring our own bomb. We paper the place, set a 3-minute timer, and leave fast, because nobody feels safe standing on a powder keg. Not even the arsonists. Signal for mission complete? Please. With a bomb that size, who needs a signal? The village center goes up. Fire through the cracks in the earth, tremors for kilometers. The sky lit orange, and every Konoha team around the village sees it and starts the fighting retreat. But the Rock Ninja don't let go. They chase, and the retreat turns into the worst part of the entire night. Worse than the assault, worse than the traps. More people die running than died fighting. Even with warnings, we hit enemies over and over, and one of our 4 goes down for good on the way out. We stagger back near dawn, and I notice the numbers before anything else. We left with 120, barely 50 come home. I walk into my squad's base, and the first thing I see is Akari, eyes red, shaking. I get a bad feeling before she opens her mouth. Renjiro, she says. Daichi, and Sensei, they're dead. Then she just comes apart. I stand there, and for a second none of it lands. I keep my distance from people on purpose. I decided that on day 1. Comrades, not friends. Don't invest because investing only digs bigger holes. But Daichi, the loud kid, the one who wanted to be Hokage and hated cilantro like it insulted his mother, the one who covered for Akari when she cried, who complained I was always late, who never once let a silence sit if he could fill it with something dumb and warm. And Tanaka, the one-armed man who never gave me a kind word in his life and taught me everything that kept me alive anyway. 2 people, out of a whole world, they were 2 of the only ones I let close, and I wasn't there. I make her tell me how. Tanaka died covering the retreat. 2 Iwa Jonin. He held the door so the rest could run, and the door held, and he didn't. Daichi died protecting Akari. On the way out, they ran into a rock squad, 4 of them, and he put himself between her and all 4. Courage doesn't close a gap that wide. He bought her the seconds it took for a passing Konoha Jonin to reach her. He spent his entire life on those seconds. I look at the cuts covering Akari, and I understand exactly how close it was. She is alive because a boy decided she should be. And here's the thought I can't put down, the one that sits in my chest like a stone. If I hadn't been on the warehouse mission, if I'd stayed with them, 4 rock Chunin could not have touched Daichi and Akari with me standing there. I couldn't have saved Tanaka. 2 real Jonin is past me. But Daichi? Daichi I could have saved with time to spare. I chose the mission. The mission was safer. And the mission is why I was a kilometer away when it mattered. I don't cry. I don't really know how anymore, and this body already spent its tears on somebody else's grief. But I sit with it. I let it be true. I don't dress it up, and I don't pretend it cost me nothing. Do I feel guilty? Not exactly. I carried those 2 through 2 ambushes already. You can't be a bodyguard for an entire life. Sooner or later, the odds come collecting. That isn't comfort, it's just the truth. And out here, the truth is all the comfort on offer. But regret. Yeah, I've got that. And underneath the regret, something older and colder wakes up and gets to work. Because I know exactly why Daichi died. He died small. He died weak. If he'd been strong enough, 4 Chunin wouldn't have been a death sentence. They'd have been a bad afternoon. Tanaka held 2 Jonin with 1 arm and a borrowed grip, and it still wasn't enough. Strength is the whole game. Strength is the only thing out here that keeps the people standing near you from becoming a story somebody tells you with red eyes. So I make a promise I never say out loud. I comfort Akari with a few words, I walk her to the medics, and then I go back to my tent, and I grind. Because grief is a feeling, and feelings don't refine chakra, and the only apology I have that means anything is getting strong enough that nobody I keep dies small again. Akari does the same thing in her own way. From that day, she trains like the grief is fuel, because it is. She asks me to spar her, not once, every day. And she is not good at this. She's the physically weakest person on the team and always has been. She was going to be a healer, that was the plan. Flowers and medicine and himiko. So I put a sword to her throat, over and over, and every time she gets up, soaked through and shaking and says one word, again. I could stop it. I could tell her that no amount of this closes the gap between her and the men who did this. I don't. Because in this world, that isn't a breakdown. That's the only healthy response available. There's a saying I keep coming back to out here. No madness, no life. Better to burn it into your hands than to sit in a tent with it. And selfishly, I need the practice partner. Tanaka was better, and Tanaka is dead, and sparring a live opponent beats swinging at air. So we use each other. Both of us know it. Neither of us says it. She thanks me every single time anyway, bowing, formal, like I'm doing her a favor instead of grinding my own numbers on her. I never correct her. I'm not sure why. Team 17 is 2 people now, her and me, and I decide, quietly, that 2 is where the bleeding stops. The war does not care what I decided, because while I've been burying my dead, Kageyama has been building a machine, and its first gear is about to turn with all of us inside it. Here's the scheme, and I'll give the snake this much. It's good. That all-out offensive that killed my team. Bait. An expensive, bloody distraction to force Iwa to yank Ninja off their rear and rush them forward. And once the rear was thin, Kageyama quietly pulled his people back, manufactured a brief numbers edge out of nothing, and aimed the whole thing at one target. Iwa's largest supply hub in the Land of Rain. The pantry feeding 2/3 of this battlefield. Take it and the Rock can't launch anything worth the name for a month or two. Meanwhile, he sends Kazuki's root operatives to assassinate Sand's commanders, so Sand can't jump in and ruin it. Clean. Cold. Very Kageyama. I'm one of 1,000 ninja he throws at it. Akari and I get posted to a river valley corridor with 300 others to ambush the Iwa reinforcements racing to save their pantry. We wait 2.5 hours in the trees. Nothing. Then the enemy shows. 200 of them, and we hammer them from both banks. The first volley alone drops 1/10 of them. It's going well. I find an Iwa Chunin carrying a sword, of all things, and get to genuinely enjoy myself out fencing him while he sweats. He escapes on a substitution and gets replaced by a nastier one who monologues about how unlucky I am to have met him. I look at him with zero fear, because fear is for people who might lose. He panics. He makes a mistake. I put a sword through his heart. The best cure for a frightening enemy is being strong enough to kill him. There is no other secret. That's the whole list. And then the day gets worse, because Iwa sent a second column down a different road. This one has a monster leading it. Gohaku, son of the 3rd Tsuchikage himself. He opens by turning the entire forest into a river of moving sand just to say hello. Behind him, 100 elite rock ninja, nobody below Chunin, and somewhere in that mess, a Jonin who fights with bees. I want to be clear. Bees. Human head-sized bees, a 2-meter queen, and a hunched little Jonin called Red Bee who looks like he's halfway to becoming one himself. He clocks the crest on my back, decides my entire clan is responsible for his clan's decline, and sends the swarm, which honestly works in my favor. A man that angry is a man I can bait. So I roast bees. A lot of bees. Phoenix Fire is an outstanding bug zapper, and I torch wave after wave while dancing through the branches. But he keeps boxing me in, and I can't break the ring. So I switch weapons. I insult him. I ask, mildly, whether this sad little swarm is really the best his clan can manage. Whether this is what dares compare itself to the Aberrame. And he loses it. Completely. Spirit out the window. Which is exactly when I catch his eyes. He's got enough training to fight the hypnosis, and he bites his own tongue to snap out of it. But the half-second is all I need. My sword nearly opens him shoulder to hip. Nearly. He survives on a half-step back. And then he plays his last card, and it's a horror movie. He has the queen swallow him whole, fuses with her, and bursts out of her corpse as a flying bee-man with his death wound closed. The insect fusion technique. It grants the queen's power and takes a little more of his humanity every time he uses it. He's used it before. You can tell by the face. Bad news. He can fly and I cannot. Good news. The fusion put the queen's dumb instinct in the driver's seat instead of his experience. So I stop trying to outfly a bee and set a trap instead. I fake a slip. Step in fake honey. Let him get greedy. Substitute out at the last second and call him down with a taunt. He looks. Rookie mistake, buddy. Shackling Stakes locks his little bee brain in place. He free falls and I take his head in midair. Then a kunai through the heart because I don't do probably dead anymore. The swarm scatters. He's finished. And that entire exhausting fight is happening while the real disaster walks up behind me on the other side of the field. The operation finishes. The pantry burns. The whistles blow retreat. And I go looking for Akari. I find her hurt. Bleeding badly from the waist, still upright because she's stubborn, so I do what a teammate does. I get between her and the world, kill the Chunin on her, walk her to a tree, and start healing her with the medical jutsu I learned for exactly this. Green light under my hands. She lets out this small, relieved breath, and for 1 second, in the middle of a war, I'm just a kid fixing his friend, which is the exact second a Jonin appears behind me. I don't feel him. I'm deep in the healing, threading cells, careful work, senses narrowed down to a wound. Akari does. And Akari, bleeding, half-healed, barely able to stand, grabs me and yanks me sideways. The kunai that was going through my throat opens my cheek instead, and then goes into hers. She saved me. She spent the last of what she had pulling me out of the path of the blade, and the blade found her instead. Everything stops. I've killed dozens of people. I watched the light go out of a begging man mid-sentence and filed it and moved on. I heard about Daichi and Tanaka secondhand and called it regret and kept grinding. I built my entire self around not feeling this. It doesn't hold. Not for this. Because this one happened in front of me, close enough to touch, and she did it on purpose, and she did it for me, and the last thing my hands were doing was trying to keep her alive. My mind goes white, blank, the system crashes, and when it reboots, there's exactly one process running. The man behind me is named Yoshida Hiroki, and he hates Uchiha eyes with his whole ruined life. Some old humiliation I don't know and don't care about. He draws to finish me, and I stop hiding anything at all. I open the Sharingan wide, in the open, in front of everyone, permanently, and I don't care. A trump card is a card. You play it or you die holding it. His blade crawls at me like a turtle. I lean out of it, and I go for him. But here's the brutal thing this fight teaches me. I can't kill him, because I spent this entire war hiding my eyes. I never learned to really use them. He's fought Uchiha before. Every illusion I try, he just looks away. Clean, practiced. My sword is good. He's a real Jonin with 2 elements and years I don't have. And in that tight space, he outclasses me the way I outclass a Chunin. For the first time since I woke up on that floor, I am the mouse. I don't get my revenge. I get a lesson instead, which is worse and more useful. Hiding my greatest weapon made me a stranger to it. My eyes are a language I never learned to speak. Then the retreat whistles save my life. I take a wound to break away, flicker to the nearest friendly Jonin, and the whole force converges and slips out before Iwa closes the net. Gohaku shadows us to the border and lets us go, because the pantry is already ash and there's nothing left to win. We march 10 hours home. I do the math on the way I always do. We came with hundreds. Half of us walk back. Now I finally understand why ninja wars are always short. Nothing this expensive runs for long. But I'm not counting for the army. I'm counting for a team of 4 that is now a team of 1. Daichi, Tanaka, and Akari, who spent her last 3 seconds making sure the one of us with a cheat code got to keep using it. I keep it. I don't waste it. That's the only thank you I have. And here's the grim little joke the universe tells next. Losing everything is what finally gets me everything, because the Sharingan is out now. Everyone saw it. And that one fact rewrites my standing overnight. 2 days after we limp back, a clan Jonin with 3 fully spinning kamas ducks into my tent. Not to scold me, to recruit me. He wants me in a clan combat squad, where other Uchiha can protect the village's fresh little bloodline sprout. Same clan that quietly closed my file months ago. Same grand elder who wrote me off as a dud. Turns out the dud struck oil after all, just late, and the second oil shows, the whole family remembers my name. I turn down the squad. Too many red eyes watching me is the last thing a man with my secrets needs. But I take the gifts, because he came bearing gifts. A scroll of Sharingan techniques. The actual 1,000-year know-how I'd have wasted months reinventing alone. And a second scroll, Uchiha-style swordsmanship, the clan's own blade art, built to sing with these eyes. I have to admit something quietly to myself here. I underestimated these people. When one of their own is down, the Uchiha show up. The pension when I was orphaned, the scrolls now. It isn't warmth exactly, but it isn't nothing. And in a world this cold, not nothing is a lot. I play the part though. Since everyone believes I awakened from watching a friend die, I let the grief sit on my face a beat longer than it needs to. Commit to the bit. And on his way out, he drops the last thing. Get ready. In 2 months, the clan is putting you in the Chunin exams. So there it is. Half a year ago, the Chunin exams were a distant rumor. Now they're a date on a calendar, and I'm the only one left of Team 17 to walk to them. I spend those 2 months the only way I know. I grind, but smarter. The eyes are exposed, so I stop rationing them. I keep them spinning for hours to farm progress cheap and pour the saved chakra into everything else. The eyes cheat hits its next tier and gets dramatically stronger. My new Uchiha blade style climbs to catch my old one. I learn a proper Sharingan genjutsu off the scroll. The whole build finally clicks into one machine, and the machine is fast. Then they send me home to Konoha to prep, and I get to cash in the oldest promise I ever made myself. Because for months, my entire diet was cardboard, ration pills, sadness in tablet form. I ate 1,000 servings of despair to buy grind hours, and my stomach still hasn't forgiven me. So the first thing I do back in the village, before training, before unpacking, is walk into Ichiraku Ramen and order the fanciest bowl on the menu. Then another. Then 8 more. 10 bowls. I sit there and demolish 10 bowls of real, hot, actual food. The old man behind the counter grins like I'm putting his kids through school. At these prices, maybe I am. Best mission reward I have ever earned, and I own a bloodline. Turns out the great Uchiha prodigy's true final form is a boy who really missed chewing. The night before the exam, the eyes finish cooking. I sit in the clan yard running the eyes cheat one last time, and on the 8th cast, a second black comma spins into being. 2 tomo, and the world upgrades again. If no eyes was standard definition and 1 tomo was high definition, 2 tomo is the crisp, expensive stuff. At night, I can watch a single insect flap its wings across the courtyard, and the panel pays the bonus. Physique up. Spirit up 2 whole points, which at this tier is enormous. My chakra ceiling cracks open toward numbers I couldn't have imagined a year ago. There's a cost though, and it's a big one. 1 tomo to 2 took 1,000 points. 2 to 3 wants 5,000. I feel a chill reading it, but 5,000 is just a number, and I am extremely good at numbers. Then it's off to the exam, and the second I walk in, I understand I'm not the main character, because the clan already has a golden boy, Kiyama Sosuke, 9 years old, awakened to 2 tomoe in 3 months flat, straight out of the gate, no cheat required, a genuine factory-issue prodigy. The clan yanked him back to compete, and every eye in the room is on him, which is perfect. He's my shield. Let them stare at the tiny wonder kid while I evolve my own eyes in the corner, and nobody notices the dud caught up. I meet him in the exam hall. Little guy, dumpling nose, 2 tomoe of his own, and he smiles and tries to make friends. I give him 3 words and go to sleep at my desk. Not because I dislike him, because I dislike everyone on principle right now, and because friends in my recent experience become names I sign alone on a form. He keeps trying anyway. He's that kind of kid. It's almost annoying how decent he is. The exam itself is a joke, which tells me plenty. Round 1 is a written test where they claim cheating is banned and mostly mean it. I don't cheat. I don't need to. I answer the questions and ace it while 5 other people get dragged out for peeking. 50% pass. Round 2 is the Forest of Death. 20 kilometers across, poison insects, man-eating animals, bad air, and 1 tall creepy tower dead center. The examiner explains the place, watches everyone's faces drain, and then hands out consent forms. Sign to acknowledge you might die. Refuse to sign and you forfeit. 60 people sign. Nobody walks. Then the rules. Everyone gets 1 scroll, heaven or earth. You need both at the tower within 5 days. Teams can ally up. Somebody complains that it's unfair since some squads have 3 people and some have 1. The examiner asks whether he expects the battlefield to be fair. Nobody says anything after that. I notice what he's actually done though. 1 scroll per person instead of per team. That doubles the paper in circulation and makes clearing this thing far easier than it should be. Konoha needs tuning. They're not going to fail us out of the pipeline over a technicality. I don't ally with anyone. I don't need a team. I need 1 specific piece of paper. Inside, the forest is dark enough at midday that I lose the sun entirely and everything drips. It's oppressive in a way that has nothing to do with danger, and I notice my shoulders climbing. Then I remember I've been sleeping in a war zone for months, and the feeling goes away. I find the nearest entrance gate, check the ground, and get lucky. Fresh tracks. 3 people, heading northwest, not long gone. I follow. A white-haired ape decides to hunt me on the way. I don't want the noise, but the thing is built for this forest, and I can't shake it, so eventually I stop being polite and kill it. That noise is the mistake. Somebody hears it. I keep moving, and I walk face first into a genuinely gorgeous trap. Kunai from every angle, all my escape lanes sealed, the kind of ambush that ends most ninja where they stand. I even take a second to admire it out loud. Nice trap. Then my 2 tomoe map every blade in the air, and I slip through all of it without a scratch. The trapper turns out to be a Nara, Kensho, the clan with the shadow technique and the highest average intelligence in the village, which explains why the trap was surgical. He calculated my landing spot off a thrown kunai. Very clever. Very useless against a man who sees a half-beat into the future. I burn his cover with Phoenix Fire. Pin 1 teammate with a kunai 3 inches above the skull as a message. Drop the other into a genjutsu with a look. And then I just stop, because the Nara is smart enough to fold. He throws down all 3 of his scrolls and concedes, and I take exactly 1. The Earth scroll I needed. Nothing more. His whole team was gambling that I wouldn't be greedy, and they read me correctly. I don't take what I don't need. I take the win and go. He watches me leave and tells his shaken teammate the thing that actually matters. It's not the Sharingan that's strong, he says. It's Kiyama Renjiro. Smart kid. I hope he lives. I reach the tower before dark on day 1. The place is empty. Not even a motivational plaque on the wall yet. So I find a corner, sit down, and start grinding. Because 5 days of guaranteed safety is the single best training environment I have had all year. Sosuke arrives 10 minutes after me. Of course he does. He tries to strike up a conversation a few times over those 5 days, sees me buried in it, leaves me alone. He's polite even when nobody's watching, which is genuinely the most alien thing about him. 28 of us make it in total. Nara Kensho's team walks in the next morning, whole and intact, which pleases me more than I expected. Being smart still pays, even in a rigged forest. Then comes round 3, and this one isn't a joke. A one-on-one tournament. Random draws. Anything goes. You win when the other person surrenders or dies, and the examiner only steps in once it's decided. Everyone shivers. I don't. My first match ends before it's a match. A wall of shuriken to force his guard. Flicker in, knee him across the room. He flips back to his feet and makes the one fatal mistake. He looks at my eyes. He wakes up with a blade at his throat, stammering surrender. Under 2 minutes on the clock, maybe 15 seconds of actual fighting. The crowd gasps. So fast, so amazing, the usual. The Jonin watching don't gasp, they see it clean. It wasn't fast because of magic. It was fast because I have a war's worth of experience packed into an 11-year-old, and the eyes just close the deal. And one man in that room has to physically sit up and rebuild his opinion of me. It's the clan Jonin who once stood outside my window at night and reported that I was a dud. The same man who handed me my parents' pension and privately wrote me off. He watches me end a fight in 15 seconds and thinks, with some embarrassment, that the clan has been so busy staring at Sosuke that nobody bothered to look at this one. Note to self, he decides, tell the Grand Elder to actually watch this boy. Yeah, now you watch me. Where was all this attention when I was eating cardboard? I crushed the next rounds the same way. Fast, cold, over. Second round, a bye. Third round, a boy who's good at close combat and lightning. I already watched him fight from the balcony, so the whole match is an open book exam. I bait him into a counterattack, let him commit, and end it with a genjutsu before his hand finishes moving. He wakes up with the examiner standing over him, and the golden boy does the same on his side of the bracket. Sosuke carves through everyone with a sword and a smile, and I watch every match he fights the way you'd study a manual. I clock his style early. He uses the clan blade art, same as me, but his is a full rank below mine, which surprises me, and I file it. I also notice he never uses his full kit unless he has to. Against the Nara, he spends the entire first half just testing, refusing to commit until he's mapped the man completely, which is exactly what I do. That's the part that makes him dangerous. Not the talent, the patience. By the halfway mark, a blind man could see it. This tournament has 2 real contestants. We lock eyes across the hall, and for the first time since I woke up on that floor, there's a fight in front of me that I actually want. Not for survival, not for a scroll, for the simple, stupid human reason of finding out one thing. Whether 9 months of eating misery in tablet form made me better than the kid the whole clan calls a genius. I've spent this entire life refusing to want things. This one I let myself want. The final, Uchiha against Uchiha. And before the whistle, I do something that surprises even him. I ask if he wants to rest first, because this isn't life or death, because I don't need to kick a tired man to prove a point. He blinks, says no, and we go. We draw at the same instant and our swords slam together. And immediately the 2 years and the extra physique tell. I overpower him, take the initiative, and drown him in Konoha style. He can't counter. Every time he winds up for something, I cut it off, clean, because I know these moves. And he figures out why. I'm Uchiha too, I know the clan blade. So I stop hiding and stack my Uchiha style on top, and now he's just surviving. He scatters caltrops to break my rush, so I change lanes and spit a great fireball. He answers with his own, faster hand seals than mine, and the 2 collide and blow the hall sideways. Then it's a blizzard of thrown steel, kunai meeting kunai in midair, and I edge it. One shuriken opens his shoulder, and here's the ugly truth of that moment. I'm winning, and I'm not happy, because I just watched a 9-year-old match my fireball with better form and barely lose the steel exchange. I ground for the better part of a year, I ate a mountain of cardboard, and against a genius 2 years younger, I can only manage a slight edge. For a second, that lands hard. I know I'm not a genius. I know I'm a stat panel with a work ethic, but there's a difference between knowing it and feeling it, and this is the feeling. Then I do what I always do. I put it down. So he's a step ahead on raw talent. Fine, geniuses have a ceiling. I don't. Being ahead early means nothing. The one who laughs last is the one who never stops. Cardboard forever. And then he beats me at something, and I file the warning for later. He hits me with a Sharingan genjutsu first. We lock into a silent war of minds, both of us frozen, and I come out of it with blood on my lip. I lost that exchange, flat out. His mental strength already outclasses mine. Of course it does. This is the kid who grows up to open the rarest eyes in the clan. In a pure clash of wills, the 9-year-old is stronger than me, and I make a very careful note of that. Someday those eyes go somewhere I can't follow. Not today though. Today I still have the better sword and the better fire and the better everything else. So I stop fencing his strengths and force mine. I fake him into using a fireball to mislead me, don't bite, and slam him first with the shackling stakes illusion. It catches him raw. And a 9-year-old, however precocious, screams under a dozen phantom nails through his limbs. I don't wait for him to get comfortable. My hands are already moving. Dragonfire, the fast straight line one, roars out while he's pinned. He breaks the illusion at the last possible instant, genius reflexes, and darts clear as the flame blows a crater where he stood. But breaking free costs him his footing, and before he's up, I'm at his throat. He goes still and whispers it. I lost. I pull the blade back, and honestly, I'm not thrilled. Not because the win wasn't real, but because of what it taught me. I couldn't just overrun him. I had to bait, stall, and pray he'd slip. Against a stranger who wouldn't slip, that plan gets me killed. I have no wide area attack. All my fire is single target. The day I face someone I can't out-trick, I'll need to reshape the battlefield itself, the way the old legends did, where every move rewrote the world. Some part of me hears that and thinks, oh, that's the road. The examiner calls it. Kiyama Renjiro wins. The hall cheers, because this is before the village learned to hate my clan, and for one clean second, I'm just a kid who won a tournament. And then, from a shadowed corner of the balcony, I feel it. Pure, undisguised malice aimed straight at me. I follow it, and there he is. Thin, wiry, gray kimono, brown hair, 2 cross scars on his chin, right eye wrapped in bandages, left eye narrow as a knife. Kazuki Saito. I don't know when he slithered in. I don't stare, because I know exactly what he is. This is the man who does not obey the village's unwritten rules, who will burn anything he's decided is a threat and sleep fine afterward. And he just looked at an 11-year-old Uchiha the way you look at a fire you have already scheduled to put out. He turns to the root operative beside him and orders everything on me by tonight. Everything. I don't flinch and I don't posture. Picking a fight I can't win is a nice feeling followed by a funeral, so I do the smart thing. I stick close to a friendly clan Jonin on the walk home, and I don't relax until I'm inside my own walls with my senses sweeping every corner. He can't touch me easily on the battlefield. Here, in the village, in the dark, with the eyes he wants sitting in a child's skull. Here, I'm careful. 3 days later, they make it official. Chunin. 2 standard vests and a rank, and the throwaway genin nobody bet on is a real ninja now. Alone. All of Team 17 signed under one name. And promotion comes with a key. The clan runs a ledger on this. Rank promotion earns you 1 entry into the library. Awakening the eyes earns another. Each evolution of the eyes earns another. I've done 3 of those things, so I walk in owed 3 visits, and the guard checks me over and lets me through. And then I get to see what 1,000 years of hoarding actually looks like. It's enormous, shelf after shelf of scrolls and books. Everything the Uchiha have collected since before the village existed. It's also organized by absolutely nothing. No system, no catalog, no index. Just a millennium of secrets stacked wherever somebody set them down, which turns a treasure vault into a scavenger hunt with a clock on it. I go in with a shopping list and my eyes wide open, and I read faster than any human being has a right to. And before the time runs out, I find exactly what I came for. A technique that steals chakra. The chakra absorption technique. Slow, flawed, nearly useless in anyone else's hands. The kind of thing you'd toss in a drawer and forget. But I don't need it to be good today. I need it to have a ceiling I can grind toward. Because everything in my hands eventually becomes a number that only goes up. And a technique that turns a captured enemy into fuel is a very, very interesting number. I walk out of that library with a way to make other people pay for my progress, which is a dark little thought for a boy to have, but I stopped being just a boy on an office floor a lifetime ago, and this world taught me the rest. Then I go back to the front, and Kazuki does not wait long. 2 men try to kill me, and neither of them is afraid to die. That's the part that ruins my whole afternoon. EWA headbands, Chunin coats, but wrong. Dead wrong. No life in them at all. To my eyes, they read like corpses somebody forgot to bury, and I know that flavor of empty from exactly one place. Root. Kazuki's little factory for turning humans into tools that don't flinch and don't quit. So the bandaged old monster who filed me under problems move fast. Efficient work, Gramps. And these 2 fight like their bodies are rentals. They shield each other with their own ribs to make openings, and their kunai are wet with something purple that is definitely not cologne. I can't afford a scratch. So I can't trade a wound to drop one and mop up the other, which is my entire usual playbook. I have to do it the slow way and wait for their bodies to quit even though their wills won't. Except they don't fight like men trying to win. They bleed everywhere and don't care. And then I look down. The blood isn't spilling, it's writing. It's crawling into a seal array across the whole clearing, and I have been the idiot painting it for them, 1 cut at a time. Blood ghost barrier, one of them roars, and 4 crimson walls climb out of the ground and close over the top. 20 meters across, 10 high, a box with me inside it. Then the one who cast it does something I don't have a category for. He drives a kunai into his own heart, pulls it back out, stands there soaking his clothes red, and doesn't die. His vitals crater, then level off right at the edge and hold. I cross the distance and take half his neck off with 1 strike, because whatever this is, I want it over before it finishes. He drops, and the blood at the wound starts moving. It crawls, it knits, the cut closes. I do it twice more. Same result, faster each time. Immune to steel, a tank that resurrects. And every time I kill him, he gets a little less human behind the eyes, until the man is gone entirely, and there's only a thing that charges. The other one uses him as a shield and attacks from behind it, and I genuinely do not know how many times I put that body down. I stop counting. I try illusions on it. Nothing. There's no mind left in there to catch. The only thing keeping me alive is that my sword work is good enough that neither of them can land the poison. But I notice one thing. Every time I kill the blood ghost, the dome dims. Slightly. Barely. But it dims, which tells me the barrier and the monsters are the same system. 2 ends of one technique. Kill the ghosts enough times and the walls have nothing left to run on. So I stop swinging steel and start burning chakra. Fireworks. Not well, but it works, which is a relief bordering on joy, because a thing immune to blades and jutsu both would have been my grave. I stop rationing anything. I cycle all 3 fire techniques through both of them over and over, and each death takes another slice out of the walls. Then I hit the dimmest wall with the biggest fireball I own. A crack. Then another. Then the whole thing goes to pieces like cheap glass, and I'm breathing outside air again. And I walk out into a ring of waiting Iwa ninja, because of course a giant blood dome drew a crowd. I cut my way out. Barely. It cost me a stab to the side that my healing paper's over, and 2 hours of running before I lose them. Here's what I file away, and it changes how I move forever. A backwater Black Ops squad just pulled a barrier out of a hat that I had never even heard of. My memories of this world are a corner of a corner. If Root has that, every village is hiding worse. Assume nothing. Trust the panel, not the story I think I know. I make the rendezvous, and it takes an hour of careful questions before I'm sure of what happened to everyone else. Then I pull Sosuke aside, away from the others, and ask whether anything unusual happened to him during the fight. He says no. He's lying, and he's bad at it. There's a flicker before the answer that tells me everything. So I stop fencing and ask directly whether he was attacked too. He goes still, then asks, carefully, whether I was. That's the confirmation. I tell him what happened to me, the whole thing, including the barrier, and then I ask what happened to him. 2 men, no barrier, but the same thing that mattered. They weren't afraid to die. And I ask about the quality of them, the feeling, and he says it without hesitating because it clearly bothered him. A deathly heaviness, like standing near something already buried. There it is, same signature, same factory. So I do something a little dirty. I plant a seed. I tell him exactly who those killers were. Root, Konoha's own black operations arm, the training division technically, ours. His voice jumps loud enough that people turn around. He asks whether the Hokage ordered it, and I say, mildly, perhaps. Which is not true, and I know it isn't. This was Kazuki, working around Kenshin, not through him. But I let the doubt land on both of them anyway, because a Hokage who tolerates a man like Kazuki for decades is not innocent of what that man does with the freedom. Then I give him the name, Shimura Kazuki, an elder, a village executive, the third's own classmate. He asks the obvious question, why us? I don't answer with words, I just point at my own eyes. He goes very quiet. And when he finally asks how I could possibly know any of this, I just smile and walk away, because the smile does more work than any answer would. I can't have this kid growing up loyal to the men who will one day drive him to give up his own eyes and his own life. So I put a splinter of doubt in the golden boy, aim it at Kazuki, and let it grow on its own. He'll dig, he'll find out I was right, and after that, how I knew won't matter. Meanwhile, back in his office, Kazuki throws my mission report on the floor and calls his own men useless trash. He'd bribed a mole, leaked our supply routes to Iwa, planned it for weeks, and it still failed. He decides to leave me alone for now. Cloud Village is stirring. Bigger fish. He doesn't know it yet, but by the time he looks my way again, I won't be a Chunin he can solve with a few assassins. Because I'm about to go into business for myself, and the business is horrifying. Let me lay out the plan, because it's genuinely the darkest thing I've ever cooked up, and I cooked it in a library. My eyes evolve on chakra. To reach 3 tomoe, I need to burn an obscene amount of it, more than my body makes in a year. But I have the chakra absorption technique now, a jutsu that rips chakra out of a living person and pours it into me. Slow, flawed, useless to anyone else. Perfect for me, because in my hands, flawed is just a number with room to grow. So the math writes itself, and it's grim. I don't need to kill my enemies. I need to keep them alive, fed, producing. I need chakra batteries. So I request a transfer to the sand front, west of main camp, with a cover story about studying puppet techniques to improve my chakra control, which is even true. But the real reason is that sand trains fewer ninja and loads each one heavier, and a rich battery beats a poor one. And the very first sand ninja I meet hands me a starter model. His name is Akio. 15 maybe, a puppeteer from a fallen sand clan, a not quite genius who builds his own puppets and takes stupid risks to prove he matters because his family kept him on a leash his entire life. He kills one of my patrol Chunin from 20 meters with a puppet, purely to show off. Bad move, kid. You showed off at the wrong guy. He opens with a needle storm, hundreds of them, fired faster than a human arm could manage. I get the sword up and knock everyone down. Then I have to breathe, hard, because that took everything I had. Somebody applauds. A giant spider walks out of the trees, 2 meters of it. And riding on its back is a teenage sand ninja, smirking, saying he envies the famous Sharingan. Classic puppeteer misdirection. Show them a monster with a master on top. Let them assume the master is the man. My eyes say otherwise. The rider has no chakra at all. Not low. None. So I tell my 2 subordinates, out loud, that both of those things are puppets. The smirk dies instantly. That's how I know I'm right. Then I break the rulebook on fighting puppeteers. Everyone teaches the same doctrine. Never trade with the puppets. Find the master. Cut the head off. I say no. Too passive. I go after the puppets. Because puppets have joints. Joints have seams. 2 tomoe find the seams, and my blade is precise enough to slide inside them. I take the humanoid's shoulder off at the socket. Gears spill. The laughing stops. Then an arm. Then a leg. Then 3 of the spider's 8. Dismantle enough of a puppeteer's arsenal, and he stops being a threat. He's a tiger with no claws. He has 2 choices left. Kill me, or run. He runs, and I let him. I don't chase hard. I heard, because I already know where I want this to finish, and it isn't here. He panics somewhere in there and plays his last card. The spider bursts apart, not into pieces, into 100 smaller spiders. Chakra threads split and split again. A whole swarm, all controlled at once, which frankly should be impossible for anyone at his level. Then one of them jumps at me and I cut it in half and see the tag burning inside it. An explosive tag. In every single one of them. If they surround me, 100 tags go off at the same instant, and I don't have anything that survives that. So I stop cutting and start running. 3 of them detonate where I was standing. Then more. The forest turns into a fireworks accident, but I keep watching while I run, and I find the flaw. They clump. They can't spread wide. He's not really driving 100 puppets. He's driving a few and letting the rest hang off them, which means the swarm can never actually encircle me. Once I know that, they're not a threat. They're chores. I bait them into piles and burn the piles. Phoenix fire over and over. A few misses, plenty of hits, and every hit takes a cluster with it. When the last spider pops, so does his nerve. I catch him behind a tree. He's shaking. He kicks at my face out of pure spite, and there's nothing behind it, because I already drained him once tonight, and he's got nothing left. I block it. I knock him out with one punch, and I stand there over a 15-year-old with no puppets and no chakra, and I think about how much he's worth. Then I carry him home, not to camp, to a hole, because weeks earlier, on patrol, I found a cave, natural cavern, man-dug tunnel, 10-year-old supplies rotting in the corner. Somebody's forgotten hideout from the last war, and I filed it, the way I file everything, under might be useful. Turns out it's perfect for exactly one purpose, a prison nobody knows exists. I tie Akio to a pillar in the dark. I've already taken both his hands, because hands make seals and seals make escapes, and I am not sentimental about it. He spits that he'll never talk, never give up the puppet's secrets. I tell him I know, and that I don't need him to. I put my glowing palm on his skull and drain him dry. A normal Chunin holds 2,000 or 3,000 chakra. This kid holds 5, and he isn't finished growing. I walk away 3,000 richer. Then I feed him ration pills, the same cardboard I lived on for months, because a battery that starves stops charging. He chews them, glaring at me like he wants to wear my skin. I genuinely do not care what he thinks. I care that tomorrow he makes more. And I notice something about him that I end up being grateful for. He doesn't break. A softer prisoner would have given up inside a week, stopped refining, gone quiet and hollow and useless, and then I'd have a corpse instead of an asset. But this kid was raised on a leash by a clan betting its entire future on him, and that made him stubborn in a way that now works entirely in my favor. He keeps refining because he's waiting for me to slip. He never says it. He doesn't have to. It's in his face every single time I walk in. Good. Keep waiting. Keep charging. Hope is the cheapest fuel I have ever bought, and I never once had to pay for it. That's the operation. Capture, cripple, drain, feed, repeat. He refines chakra to pass the time and to keep hoping for an escape, and the hope is load-bearing, so I make very sure never to take it away. A hopeful battery keeps charging. A hopeless one goes dark, and then I've lost my dairy cow. I know how that sounds, believe me. 6 months ago I flinched at killing a bandit. Now I'm running a private chakra dairy out of a war crime cave, milking a captured teenager to feed my eyeballs. This world did some of that. I'd be lying if I said it did all of it. Some of it was just me, doing the math, refusing to leave good chakra on the table. But one battery is a hobby. I want a farm. And a farm needs me to be in 2 places at once. So I learned the shadow clone technique, and it solves everything. Most ninja never use shadow clones in a real fight, because a clone splits your chakra and burns it fast. Terrible in combat, but I don't want it for combat. I want an alibi. I make a clone, leave it wearing my face at main camp, doing my patrols and my chores, and I go live in the cave running the prison. When something happens up top, the clone pops and dumps its memories straight into my head. I'm never late. I'm never missed. I'm in 2 places forever, and one of those places is a dungeon. I even spar the clone to test it, and lose a little faith in the universe when I win, because the panel only levels the original. The clone fights at my skill but never climbs, which tells me the cheat is bolted to my soul and not my chakra. Fine by me. I don't need clones to grind. I need them to lie. And right around then, 2 years of blade work pays off all at once. I max both sword styles, Konoha and Uchiha, and they fuse. The panel eats them both and spits out one new skill, just called swordsmanship, built from the best of both and welded to my eyes. It isn't a style anymore. It's my style, made of me, for me. And the fusion cracks my physique up another point, which cracks my chakra ceiling wider, which means more fuel and faster eyes. One gear turns the next. It always does. So now I have the perfect setup. A clone covering my life, a cave full of the future, and an appetite for inventory. The sand front is generous. A wind Jonin called Jin Hai announces himself by carving the forest into confetti. He's thin, triangle-eyed, cold, and he's carrying a war fan with 3 stars painted on it. Every star he opens dumps more wind chakra into the technique. He opens one to say hello, and the trees between us come apart. The blades themselves are invisible, pure vacuum. The only reason I survive the first exchange is that my eyes catch where they bruise the air on the way in. I tell my 3 subordinates to take the other 4 and leave the Jonin to me, and then I walk into the storm, which is either confidence or stupidity depending on the next 10 seconds. It's confidence, barely. My blade finds every blade coming at me because I can see the seams in the wind, and I come out the other side of his technique close enough to be a problem. So he opens the second star. Now it's not a storm, it's a landscape edit. Trees don't lose branches, they leave the ground. The soil peels. I stop being brave and get out of the radius, and so does every other fighter on the field, because nobody wants to be standing in that. And we settle into the shape of the fight. He fans, I evade. I close, he blocks with the fan face and shoves me back with a wind palm that hits like a wall. I circle, he rotates that fan on one corner like a shield on a pivot, and my thrust screeches off it. He's genuinely excellent. But excellent isn't winning, and I notice the thing that decides this. His techniques cost a fortune. Mine cost almost nothing. Every time he panics me back with a big wind, he's spending. Every time I answer with footwork and steel, I'm not. 15 minutes of that and the ledger does what ledgers do. He starts breathing harder. I don't. He also learns to fear something new, which is a small pleasure I'd like to record. I've just finished mastering my fire well enough to push it into an object instead of out of my mouth. So mid-exchange, I run fire chakra down the blade, and the sword goes from white steel to dark red, wisps coming off the edge. The temperature reaches him before the edge does. I see him decide very quickly that he cannot block that with a fan made of cloth and ribs. Then he shows me his trump card, and it nearly ends me. He fakes me into a chase, corners me inside a full power wind technique, and while I'm dodging vacuum blades, he calls out a fire technique. Fire, from the wind specialist, because wind feeds fire, and a wind master who also carries fire doesn't add the two effects together, he multiplies them. The technique inhales the entire clearing and turns it into a furnace. I scream something unflattering and get swallowed. Except the thing that gets swallowed is a shadow clone. I'd swapped 3 seconds earlier, the instant I understood I was being herded rather than chased. Being herded is the tell. Nobody wastes that much chakra pushing you somewhere unless somewhere is important. He stands there panting, leaning on the fan, staring at the fire where I used to be, and asks the air whether it worked. I answer from behind him. Success, I say, and then I put the burning sword through his left arm and flick upward, and the arm comes off above the elbow. The smell is awful. I actually frown at it, which he probably finds insulting. He staggers back 4 meters clutching the stump and asks when I switched, which is the right question, asked far too late. I don't answer. A man with one arm can't weave seals, and a wind user with no seals and no fan hand is a very expensive paperweight. I close. He fights anyway, with the fan and his body and pure stubbornness, and I have to respect it right up until I catch his eyes and drop him into a genjutsu. Then I knock him out. And I drain him. And then I do something that would have confused me a year ago. I heal him. I close the arm properly, stop the bleeding, make sure he's stable and going to survive the night. Because dead, this man is worth nothing. Alive, at full charge, he's worth 8,000 chakra. My own chakra is nearly empty by then, because I've been throwing clones around like a rich man, but I make one more anyway and send my new appliance to the cave. And I don't kill him. I heal him. I stop the bleeding on the arm I just removed, because a corpse produces nothing, and this man is worth 8,000 chakra at full charge. Then a shadow clone carries my new appliance to the cave. I don't kill the useful ones anymore. I collect them. When the field's too crowded to grab someone clean, sure, they die, and it annoys me like watching money burn. But when I can take one quiet, into the dark he goes. Hands off, chakra flowing. Another cow in the barn. Before long, the cave isn't holding one prisoner. It's holding a rotation. Sand ninja mostly, then rock, then cloud once they drift into range. Different villages, same purpose. Shadow clones haul them in and stand watch. And every single day, the whole miserable menagerie gets drained, and every drop goes into one place, my eyes. The operation scales into something that would horrify a war crimes tribunal and a logistics manager equally. I run multiple clones. They roam, hunt, and capture instead of kill, and they've done it so many times the cleanup is muscle memory. Erase the fight, take the bodies, vanish. I stop keeping everyone in one cave, because one cave getting found means the whole army walks free. So I spread them. Multiple hideouts, each stocked with charged batteries, clones ferrying chakra back to me like the world's worst bee colony. I sit at the center draining tens of thousands of chakra a day out of other people's soldiers and pouring all of it into the eye's cheat. And then my inventory revolts. It's a good revolt, honestly. I almost respect it. 9 of them work out, using nothing but eye contact and small body language over weeks of shared misery that I need them alive. So they coordinate. And one day, I put my hand on Jinhai and pull out half the usual amount. Because he didn't refine. None of them did. They all just stopped. They gambled that I need the milk too much to break the cow. I stand there with murder on my face and think about it. Then I go read a mind instead. Genjutsu on the guiltiest looking one, guide him into recalling the plan. And there it is. A conspiracy conducted entirely in blinks and shoulder twitches. Fine, you're all very good. Then I go back to my room and level up. Because I've been sitting on a realization. Chakra is spiritual energy plus physical energy. If my technique can drain the mixture, then at a high enough rank, it should be able to drain the ingredients directly. 2 days of frantic grinding later, I find out I'm right. I walk back into the cave looking exhausted, and they see it and get smug. They mock me with their eyes. They think they've won a round, and I tell Jinhai to bear with it because it's my first time too. I put my hand on his head and pull his chakra. Normal, expected. He stays calm, and then I keep pulling. When his chakra is gone, and I start dragging out the spiritual and physical energy underneath, his eyes go wide and he starts to thrash. It doesn't help. It's like watching a man try to argue with a drain. When I let go, he looks like someone who just survived a long illness. Pale, hollowed, cheeks sunken. That damage doesn't heal. His body will never come back to what it was, and his strength drops a full tier permanently. I don't enjoy it, but I do note it. The option exists now, and the option is the point. They can refine willingly and stay whole, or they can refuse and I take it from the meat directly. 3 days later, all 9 are cooperating enthusiastically, but the damage is done and the spiral starts. A weakened body produces less. Less production means I drain more life force to cover the gap, which weakens them further, which means less production. It's a loop with no exit at the bottom of a hole, and I'm the one turning the crank. I tell myself the war has another year in it and softness gets me killed. That's true. It's also convenient. Both things can be true, and I know exactly which one I'm leaning on. Then I turn one of them into a business partner, because Akio, my very first battery, has an uncle in my collection. A puppeteer named Yan Lo, taken off Jinhai's squad, wearing the same clan crest. And the nephew is the uncle's entire world. Akio is the last hope of a dying clan, which makes him the crowbar. So I untie Akio and start dragging him out of the room, and Yan Lo loses his mind trying to make noise through a gag. I take my time. I let him beg for the right to speak. I let him volunteer the relationship himself. Then I offer terms. I don't want his puppets. I don't want his craft. I want exactly one thing: the method for condensing, splitting, and controlling chakra threads. That's the part that pushes my chakra control past a ceiling I'd been stuck under for months, because puppeteers spin threads of chakra fine enough to run a mannequin from 20 meters, which requires precision and order of magnitude past anything I've trained. He refuses, loudly. It's the foundation of his clan. I let the silence work. I tap the armrest and watch his heartbeat climb with the rhythm. Then I tell him it's my bottom line and not to bargain. He folds, and a week later my chakra control breaks through and stays climbing, because a sand secret from a second-generation master is a very good teacher. That unlocks a cascade. Better control means cheaper jutsu, which means more reps. It means I can finally develop a second nature, so I grow wind alongside my fire. And with wind on the board, I start reaching for the thing every ninja in this world eventually reaches for: the Rasengan. Pure shaped chakra, spun in the palm, no hand seals, no element required, and by far the hardest thing I have ever tried to learn. Its creators took 3 years. A certain loud orange kid later takes a week with a clever shortcut. It cost me around 65,000 chakra just to reach entry level, which is more than I spent taking a fire technique from nothing to competent, which is only possible because I own a dairy farm. I burst water balloons in a cave for days, surrounded by dying men, chasing a ball of light in my hand, then rubber balls, then finally, the real thing. It's ugly and slow, and I couldn't use it in a fight yet, but it's on the panel, another number that only goes up. And then, buried in a cave, milking a teenager, surrounded by the fruits of my private atrocity, my eyes take the step I've been feeding them toward for a year. 2 tomo becomes 3. A third black comma spins into place, and the world upgrades again. If 2 tomo was crisp and expensive, 3 tomo is absurd. When I focus, everything slows. I get whole extra beats to think inside a single exchange. That alone makes me 20 or 30% stronger before you count anything else. And the panel pays the biggest bonus yet. Spirit jumps 2, physique 1, and my chakra ceiling blows past what most Jonin will ever carry. I could stand in front of a real Jonin now and not blink. But 3 tomo comes with warning text in small red letters, and I read it and go cold. Because my spirit is now 4 full points above my physique. My mind is racing miles ahead of my body, and I know exactly one Uchiha whose mind outran his body that hard. The genius who opened the strongest eyes too young, whose overpowered spirit slowly cooked him from the inside until he needed medicine just to stand upright. That's the bill for pushing the eyes too fast, and I've been flooring it. So I add a new item to the plan, right at the top. Fix the body. Catch the physique up before the gap opens a wound I can't close. And I know the road. Medical ninjutsu runs on the same energy that governs physical vitality. Grind the healing arts high enough and I can use them to nourish my own cells instead of somebody else's. It's slow. It's the least glamorous option on the board. It's also the one with the fewest ways to kill me. 3 tomo. A chakra pool most Jonin would envy. A prison network. Wind budding beside fire. A Rasengan in my palm. And a ticking clock in my own bloodline that I installed myself on purpose to get here faster. I'm one evolution from the Mangekyo now. The eyes that put a price on my entire clan. I promise myself I won't show them until Kazuki's in the ground. I don't get to keep that promise quietly. The clan verifies my new eyes, and the machinery starts turning. A Jonin comes to confirm it, gets excited, and lets slip that the clan now has 2 prodigies. Sosuke opened his third tomo up north around the same time I did. Of course he did. He's 2 years younger and he did it without a cheat. Some people are just built different. Then comes the sentence that changes my next month. With 3 tomo, promotion to Jonin goes on the agenda, and promotion comes with an assessment mission. They send me into the land of Earth, alone. The job is intelligence. Iwa and Cloud are tearing each other apart near the Rock Village, and Konoha wants numbers, casualties, losses, anything that tells us whether Iwa is weak enough to counterattack. I read the orders and nearly laugh because I know how this one ends. Cloud's elite force, led by the third Raikage himself, has punched deep into Iwa territory at terrifying speed. It looks like a rout. It isn't. It's bait. Onoki knew they were coming and has been reeling them in, and right now, an army of 10,000 rock ninja is quietly closing a ring behind them. Counterattack? Sure. Konoha will be lucky to survive what Iwa does after this, but orders are orders, and enemy territory during a massive battle happens to be the single best hunting ground I've ever been handed. I set up in a cave that used to belong to a bear and get to work, except my chakra income just collapsed. No batteries out here. I'm back to my own daily recovery, and my grinding speed halves overnight, which is unacceptable, so I go shopping. The battlefield is crawling with spies from every faction, all watching the same fight. Perfect targets. Nobody misses a spy for weeks. I find one and immediately hit a problem. If he's scouting with a shadow clone like I am, walking up to him just alerts the real one, so I run a con. I transform into an Iwa Chunin, sprint at him from a distance, and yell that the plan is starting and what is he doing out here away from his squad. Then I stop, look him up and down, act like I just realized he isn't one of us, and bolt in fake terror. He chases, we scuffle, he pops into smoke, called it shadow clone. But now the real one has heard the word plan, and curiosity is a hook you can set in almost anyone. A few minutes later, a black-robed figure creeps in to investigate what the plan is. I open the moment he steps into range. 3 shuriken. He dodges clean, lands, and eats 3 more that were already in the air waiting for where he'd land. He blocks those with a kunai, which is impressive, and loses his escape window doing it. Then we're chest to chest and I finally see what I've caught. Black robe, pale mask with 4 wavy lines cut into it like running water. Kirigakure Anbu, the Mist Village's black ops, at least 1,000 kilometers from anywhere they should be, watching this war for the same reason I am. We size each other up across locked blades. And in the second his eyes flick to mine, I trigger the hypnosis. Here's a thing I've learned about these eyes. I don't leave them on anymore. Once they hit 3 tomo, idling them stopped paying, so now they stay dark until the instant I want them, which means nobody sees them coming. He catches the full weight of it with no warning, and I twist my wrist and open his chest. Shallow, because he broke free halfway through and took a half step back. And that half step is the difference between a scar and a corpse. He asks the obvious question through the mask. Sharingan, Uchiha. I answer by dropping the transformation I'd been wearing, and he gets to watch a filthy 11-year-old appear where an Iwa Chunin was standing. Something moves behind the mask. Surprise, quickly filed. Then he asks why I lured him here, which is a great question that I decline to answer because the honest reply is that I need a battery and he's the biggest one in walking distance. We fight properly then, and he's very good. Fast, economical, no wasted motion. The kind of technique you only get from a career of doing this professionally in the dark. He is also losing from the first exchange, and he knows it by the 4th. Level 5 swordsmanship plus 3 tomo isn't a duel. It's a demonstration. I take his shoulder. Then, when our eyes cross again, I hit him with a real Sharingan Genjutsu and take a piece out of his left arm while he's stuck in it. He would have lost the whole arm if he hadn't surfaced at the last instant, so he changes the game, and he changes it correctly, which tells me exactly who I'm dealing with. He eats a sword thrust on purpose to buy distance, slams 3 smoke bombs down, and out of the smoke comes the technique that is the actual answer to my entire kit. Hidden mist. Thick white fog, wall to wall, and suddenly my expensive eyes are worth about as much as anyone else's. He knew that. He's fought my clan before, and he's not the only one, because most of Konoha's Uchiha get posted against mist and sand specifically, which, standing there blind in someone else's fog, I finally understand is not a coincidence. Mist has the fog, sand has the puppets. Both of them are answers to the Sharingan. Somebody in Konoha has been quietly sending my clan to the 2 fronts where our eyes are worth least. I'll be thinking about that for a long time. But not now, because there's a professional in the fog hunting me like a man who does this for a living. So I don't play hide and seek. I take a breath and blow the entire weather system away with wind. The fog goes. He doesn't get to keep his advantage. He throws poison shuriken from 3 angles as it clears, purple slick and thrown well, and I cut every one out of the air and close. He answers with water, a jet expanding like a horn. I answer with a fireball, and steam explodes across the clearing, and I watch him move for the seals to make new fog out of it. I blow that away too before it forms, and I watch him arrive at the end of the arithmetic. Can't outfight me, can't blind me, can't outrun me, so he goes still. Closes his eyes deliberately so my illusions can't reach him, and starts building a seal with the calm of a man who has already decided. Either he's killing himself to protect his village's secrets, or he's killing himself in a way designed to take me with him. If it's the first, I lose a battery. If it's the second, I don't know the radius, and not knowing the radius is how people die. So I don't back off. I dump my entire chakra reserve into speed and cross the distance in almost no time at all, and I take both his forearms off before the seal completes. Then I'm behind him with a hand on the back of his neck, draining, and I don't stop until there's nothing left to take. Then I carry him to my bear cave, a mist Unbu who will absolutely never cooperate, which means I'll be keeping him asleep and taking it from the meat directly. He isn't a battery, he's a fuel tank I'm slowly siphoning. And then I learn my lesson about hunting spies. They're all like him, elite, suicidal, and expensive. The risk is completely out of line with the reward, so I change targets. From now on, I hunt ordinary patrols, the Cloud and Rock Scouts skirmishing on the edges of the main battle at night, which turns out to be the most efficient thing I have ever done. I find 2 patrol squads about to collide and quietly steer them into each other. I sit in the dark and let them kill each other down to 5 survivors, all of them hurt. Then I collect the 5. Body flicker behind one, chop, down. Hypnosis on the second the instant he looks. The other 3 close their eyes to avoid my gaze, which is correct and also useless, because I put kunai through 4 of their arms and they open their eyes to scream. Clones catch the runner. Nobody escapes the woodland. And the beautiful part is the aftermath. Iwa arrives, sees a cleaned battlefield, and concludes Cloud took prisoners. Cloud arrives, sees the same, and concludes Iwa took prisoners. 2 armies, each blaming the other, both wrong. Nobody looks for a third party. I run that play again and again over 3 days. 8 more prisoners. My daily chakra income goes from decent to obscene. I pour all of it into one thing, the eyes cheat, because I've decided to push it up another whole tier while I'm rich, which will make every future point of Sharingan progress cost half as much. And while I'm doing that, the real battle finishes writing history. The ring closes. 10,000 rock ninja against Cloud's elite. The 3rd Raikage figures out the trap, but too late, and Iwa's Jonin fight like men under orders to keep him on the field at any cost. He tears through them anyway. He puts on the strongest lightning armor in the world and kills 2 Jonin without slowing down, and the survivors get out of his way because dying to prove a point is not in their contract. Then the sky opens up and it rains, and he laughs about the timing. And he makes his choice. He could break out with his men. He knows that if he runs with them, Iwa will commit everything to encircling the rest, and his elites die. So he doesn't run. He tells his second-in-command to leave and refuses to hear the argument. He says that losing has a price, and it will be paid by him or by them. He tells them they're the future of their village. Then he throws himself into 10,000 enemies alone so his people can walk out. I watch it from a distance with my eyes wide open, and I don't make a single joke about it because there isn't one to make. He holds them for 3 days, alone, against an army. And when he finally goes on his feet. I measure myself against him honestly while it happens, and the answer is instant and humiliating. I cannot beat that man, not with the eyes, not with the sword, not with any combination I own. His armor turns aside everything I could throw, and his speed outruns everything I could aim. There's a ceiling above me, and today I got to see exactly how high it is. But the chaos he creates is the best business opportunity of my life, because while 2 armies are focused entirely on one man, nobody is watching anything else. I go into the aftermath and find the thing that makes this whole stretch of my life feel like a fever dream. I find Iwa's wounded. Hundreds of injured rock ninja, stacked in tents behind the lines, with almost no medics. Iwa never invested in healers the way Konoha did, and now they're paying for it. So I take out a medic. I catch a lone Iwa medical ninja in a tent, read his memories with genjutsu, take his name and his face and his knowledge of the camp layout, and bury him. Then I walk into a tent full of wounded enemies wearing his face, and they light up when they see me because a medic just arrived and they've been waiting. And here's the part I want you to appreciate. I heal them. Genuinely. Properly. I clean the wounds, I run the technique, I close the injuries, I give real aftercare instructions. These men get better because I show up. Then I look tired, and I sigh, and I explain that there are so many wounded and so few of us, and that my chakra just isn't enough to help everyone. And one of them asks how they can help. So I tell them, with great reluctance, that I happen to know a technique that can absorb chakra, and I ask whether they'd be willing to donate a little so I can save more of their comrades. There is a long, wary pause. Chakra is life to a ninja. Then the worst injured man in the tent, the one who most needs me next, declares that contributing for the village and for his comrades is his duty. And the man I just healed, watching everyone else watch him, extends his hand and agrees, because you cannot be the guy who refuses his own doctor in front of an audience. So I take half of each of them, politely, at a gentle rate so nobody panics. Then I go to the next tent, and the next. I spend an entire day and night moving between the wounded, healing enemy soldiers for real, one after another, while they volunteer their chakra to the war effort with genuine pride. I am, technically, the best thing that has happened to these men all week. I am also draining an entire field hospital into my eyeballs. Nobody catches it because there's nothing to catch. The absorbing is done in the open. The healing is real. The gratitude is real. The math is just pointed somewhere they can't see. And I walk out of that camp with my healing skill nearly doubled from hands-on practice and roughly 150,000 chakra. I'd call it my finest hour if I had any illusions left about what I am. Then I get greedy, and greed nearly kills me. I find another cluster of wounded in a stone forest. 20-odd men on the ground. 4 guards. I check the guards. 1 special Jonin, 3 Chunin. Manageable. I do not check the wounded. That's the mistake. 3 days of everything going perfectly had sanded the paranoia right off me. So I move. And halfway through the fight, one of the wounded stands up. He's not injured. He's not a special Jonin either. He's the real thing. A full Jonin planted in a pile of bleeding men, waiting for exactly the kind of scavenger who'd been picking off Iwa's wounded for 3 days straight. They set the trap for me specifically. They followed the pattern I left and built a hole in the shape of my habits. I win. Barely. Swordsmanship keeps me alive. The eyes keep me ahead, and I finish it with a Rasengan he never saw, because nobody in this world has seen that technique yet, and there's no counter to a thing with no reputation. But I don't catch everything. He had a summon, a pangolin. It watched the entire fight from under the dirt and burrowed away before I could reach it. And it saw my face. Not a transformation, not a disguise. Me. Which means my description is already moving toward every rock ninja in this country. My face, my eyes, my sword, my strength. That's a bad trade for one afternoon, and I take the prisoners anyway. Because there are 34 of them lying at my feet. 1 Jonin, 27 Chunin, 6 Genin. I do the arithmetic and it's obscene. Around 200,000 chakra, sitting in a field, breathing. I have 3 hours before their pickup arrives. I know because I pulled the schedule out of a guard's head. 3 hours is not enough, not remotely. The eyes cheat takes about a minute per cast, and I can't rush it. 200,000 chakra would take me 20 hours of casting, and I'd have to stand in enemy territory the entire time. So I improvise. And it turns into one of the best ideas I've ever had. I split 4 shadow clones. I keep the eyes cheat for myself, because that one runs on my actual brain and a clone can't do it. Then I hand the clones everything else. 2 grind the Sharingan Genjutsu, 2 grind the Rasengan. 15 minutes later I pop them and absorb what they learned. It works, not perfectly. A clone learns at about 2/3 my rate and hits a wall if I leave it running too long. So I refresh them, every 15 minutes. Drain a prisoner, top up, make 4 new clones, go again. Over and over, for 3 hours, in a field full of unconscious men. The math at the end is ugly and beautiful. 200,000 chakra spent. My illusion skill jumps hundreds of points. My Rasengan clears an entire tier. 20,000 chakra lost purely to the cost of making clones, which physically pains me to write down. Then the 3 hours are up, and I do the part I don't dress up. 34 men who cannot fight, cannot run, and cannot wake up. I take everything they have left, and then I make sure Iwa never learns what was done to them. Fire. Then nothing worth reading. When their pickup arrives, they find a clearing of charred bodies and no answers at all. And then Iwa's response arrives, and it is not the response I planned for. Not a squad, an Anbu team. 4 of them, hunting me specifically, with my face and my name and a profile of my abilities. They've had my identity for hours. Kiyama Renjiro, 11 years old, 3 Tomo. 5 Great Village intelligence is terrifyingly fast. I split a decoy clone to draw half of them and run. The clone fights the captain and a sonic specialist and loses, but it buys me the only thing that matters, information. The captain is stronger than me in raw skill. The woman can resonate a body apart with sound, and crucially, they were never fooled. They split up because they knew one path was a decoy. Then I look up and my blood goes cold. An eagle, circling, silent. They've been tracking me from the sky the entire time, which means every route I pick gets radioed ahead and blocked before I reach it. That's not a chase, that's a funnel. I can't reach the bird, so I go after the handlers. I bait the 2 trailing Anbu into an ambush, blow the trees away with wind so there's nowhere to hide, and kill them both. They're the trackers, not the fighters. Without them, the 2 behind me lose 4 hours untangling my false trails. And I run. For 3 days, I cross the land of Earth through mountains, avoiding every road, sleeping almost never, while an entire country searches for a child with red eyes. Eva blocks the passes and sweeps the hills. By the time I cross into friendly territory, I look less like a ninja and more like something raised by wolves. The first person I meet on the other side nearly puts a kunai in me before recognizing my face. It's Sosuke. 3 Tomoe now, calm in a way he wasn't a year ago, running his own squad. He stares at the filthy creature in front of him and asks, with real uncertainty, whether I'm Renjiro. I tell him yes. He laughs and lets me pass, and as I walk away, he notices something that bothers him for a long time. In that brief moment of eye contact, he felt his own Sharingan get quietly overpowered by mine. He's the prodigy, he's supposed to be the ceiling, and the boy who awakened after him now has stronger eyes. He doesn't say anything about it, he just files it, the way I file things. Meanwhile, I'm running the same comparison from the other side, and it lands very differently. Because I can estimate where his eyes sit, and the honest answer is that he's maybe 1,000 or 2,000 points of progress behind me. That's nothing. That's weeks. And I got my lead by industrializing human beings in a cave, by draining a mist operative down to the marrow. by walking through a field hospital of wounded men taking donations with a straight face. He got his by waking up every morning and being Kiyama Sosuke. If I stripped the cheat out tomorrow, he'd pass me inside a month and never look back. That's the thing I actually take away from this road, and it's not comfortable. My advantage was never talent. It was never even hard work, though I've done plenty. My advantage is that I was willing to do things he would never do. I decide it doesn't matter and keep walking. I'm not sure I believe me. I sleep for over 20 hours when I get back. Then they promote me. Jonin, confirmed by Kageyama himself in a tent full of Konoha's senior fighters, most of whom are clan ninja and all of whom are sizing me up. 11 years old, wearing a rank most people spend a career reaching. I sit through the ceremony spacing out because meetings are meetings in any world, and I would rather be practicing my sword than being looked at. Then Kageyama puts the real question on the table. Do we counterattack Iwa now, while they're bloodied from the cloud invasion? Half the room says yes, the front is soft. Half says no, they just want a huge victory and their morale is peaking. Kageyama taps the table, thinks, and says attack. And I sit there knowing precisely how this goes, because a few months from now, Konoha gets pushed all the way back to its own gates. But nobody asks the 11-year-old for a forecast, so I keep my mouth shut and go sharpen my sword. I spend the week before deployment doing two things. First, I buy medical techniques, real ones, the advanced palm healing and the chakra scalpel, both A rank, both normally locked behind being an actual medic. The quartermaster hands them over anyway after watching my healing work, on the condition that I treat wounded during the campaign. I accept instantly. Hands-on practice levels medical skills 3 times faster than solo grinding, and I need that skill high because it's the road to fixing my body before my own eyes cook me. Second, I start designing my own sword techniques. Not flashy moves, my basic attacks already threaten anyone standing in front of me. Not raw power either, because most ninja out here are made of paper, and the ones who aren't won't be stopped by a harder swing. I want function. 3 ideas. 1. A strike that splits into real and false in the same motion, so a single thrust becomes several and defense becomes guesswork. I'll build it off shadow clone theory once I understand the underlying principle well enough. 2. Fusing wind chakra into the blade until the sword and I move as one connected thing. Man moves with the sword moves with the mind. That needs a better weapon than the one I looted off a corpse. 3. And this is the one I want most. Folding genjutsu into the sword work itself. Get the Sharingan illusion high enough and I can cast with a gesture. Make the gesture a sword stroke and every swing carries an illusion. An attack you cannot block because blocking it means looking at it. I name them in my head and file them under future. Then the war takes me. The counterattack opens at night. 4 teams, 500 of us against IWA's forward strongholds. I'm assigned to the combat unit, which is a polite way of saying I'm pointed at their Jonin. I have no objection. I need matched fights to sharpen the blade. The first stronghold goes fast. I charge their Jonin, eat a storm of kunai without slowing, and deflect the ones I can't dodge back into their own genin, which lands in front of everyone and does more for morale than any speech. Their Jonin is named Okada Ryuji, and he's smart. He sees the Sharingan, shuts his eyes, and hides behind a wall of Chunin because he knows the counter. So I take the Chunin apart first. He calls warnings for them, left, right, and it works exactly as long as their coordination is perfect, which is never for long. One slip and I hypnotize a man out of the fight. Then it's just us. And I show him the thing I've been building. I stop fighting him from the front. My eyes read the muscle in his arm before it moves, so I'm never where he's looking. I attack from the blind spot behind his own turning head again and again, from angles he has no way to cover. He can't look at me because looking means the illusion. He can't ignore me because ignoring means dying. He can't form a seal because I will kill him during the second it takes. He is a fish in a net, and every struggle tightens it. He adapts eventually. Under enough pressure, a good fighter builds reflexes, which is precisely when I change the pattern, and the reflex he just built becomes the thing that kills him. Shackling stakes. Then a sword through the heart, and with his last breath, staring at an opponent he never actually saw, he gives me something. Ghost sword, he says. Ghost blade. I turn the words over and decide they fit. When I fight with these eyes, people see a shadow and a wound and nothing in between. Within a few months, Ghostblade Renjiro becomes a name spoken carefully across the whole land of Rainfront, a thing to avoid, a rumor with a body count. I don't celebrate it. I check the panel and note that my swordsmanship gained more in one fight than half a day of practice. Real combat is a better teacher. Noted. I'll be doing more of it. The final count on that first stronghold is 105 of theirs dead against 75 of ours hurt, 22 fatally. Nearly 5 to 1, which sounds like genius, and isn't. We brought 500 people against a garrison of 100, most of them genin, 4 or 5 of us for every one of them. At those odds, the ratio isn't skill, it's arithmetic. Some of them still escape. They always do. Once a fight starts, somebody always gets word out. We rest an hour and move. The second camp already knows we're coming, and it doesn't matter. 100 defenders can't stop 500 attackers who arrived in the next half hour. It's over in 30 minutes. I only get one special Jonin out of it, and I'm annoyed about it, which tells you something about where my head is. Because their Jonin didn't stay. The moment the fight turned, their senior fighters pulled out and took people with them. That's not cowardice, that's policy. Iwa is deliberately preserving its high-end fighters and spending its cheap ones, which means every camp we take is emptier of anyone worth fighting, and all of those people are being saved up somewhere for later. I mention this to nobody. I just note that later is going to be extremely unpleasant. We take 2 more camps through the night, 4 total. By dawn, we've driven the line back to Iwa's 3rd defensive layer, and my sword has gained more in one night than in a week of drills. Between each one, I heal our wounded alongside the medics. The other ninja read that as noble. The newly promoted prodigy taking the worst enemies during the fight and then tending his own people afterward, tirelessly, without being asked. I read it as free skill progress on a technique I need to level anyway. Both are true. I stopped needing them to be separate things a long time ago, and I notice the reputation forming around me and decide not to correct it. Sometimes a good name is just armor you didn't have to pay for. Then the mission changes shape. We're no longer the spear, we're the bait. Our job now is to hold Iwa's reinforcements here, running and fighting, so the rest of Konoha's line can push, which means we spend 2 days deliberately staying catchable, but not caught. And Nara Sosuke, our commander, plays that razor edge better than I could. And that entire time, something is watching me. I feel it. Not constantly. In flashes, a weight on the back of the neck that arrives and leaves. I check. I find nothing. I check again. Nothing. I take it to Nara Sosuke anyway, and to his enormous credit, he doesn't dismiss a feeling from a boy with 3 tomoe. He reasons it out loud and arrives somewhere ugly. If a hidden enemy has tracked us this whole time and Iwa still hasn't closed on us, that isn't luck. That's a trap being built slowly while we relax. He expands our scouting perimeter to 5 kilometers on the strength of my hunch. That decision saves everyone's life. Because the next morning, the Byakugan scouts find Iwa already forming a ring 5 kilometers out. If we'd kept our old perimeter, we'd have learned about it when it closed. And then a Hyuga scout beside me goes white and tells me to run. He spotted the 7-man squad coming for us. 4 ordinary Jonin, 2 strong ones, and 1 that isn't a person so much as a weapon. Ren, elite Jonin of Iwa. They call him the Steam Ninja, and inside him lives the 5 Tails, a Jinchuriki, a living tailed beast container sent specifically at us. I have about 1 second to have a genuinely deranged thought, which is, if I could turn that man into a chakra battery, I would never worry about fuel again for the rest of my life. And I could try. My eyes sit at the absolute edge of 3 tomo. 1 push and I open the Mangekyo, and with those eyes plus my illusions, I might actually take him. I don't do it. 3 reasons, and I run them in about 2 heartbeats. I refuse to force the evolution before my body can carry it. Capturing a tailed beast now would drag attention from powers far worse than Iwa, and there are 2 armies standing here, so if I opened those eyes, everyone would see them. So I put the fantasy down and settle for studying him. And the reason I only get 2 heartbeats to decide is that he already knows I'm here, because the Byakugan scout beside me looked at him too long, and the thing inside Ren felt it. That's the part that chills me, not the man, the passenger. A wisp of dark red chakra leaks out of his seal. His own escorts flinch back and start reaching for their sealing formula, and he tells them, calmly, that somebody was watching him. Then he comes. I send the scout running and stay. Because we can't both outrun this, and because I want to see what a Jinchuriki actually is. A wall of steam comes through the forest at me like a train. He's enormous, armored head to foot, scalding vapor screaming out of every joint, and he uses that vapor to accelerate. He doesn't go around trees, he goes through them. I open with kunai, 3 of them. He doesn't even dodge. He raises 1 forearm and lets them hit. Sparks. No damage. That armor turns steel like it's rain, so I switch to wire. 3 kunai trailing near invisible steel, thrown past him rather than at him, then drawn tight until he's bound where he stands. He solves it in a way I genuinely admire. He floods his own armor with boiling chakra, expands the plates, then lets them shrink. The wire loosens by a fraction, and he substitutes out through that fraction like an eel. I burn the wire anyway with dragon fire, then cut the technique early because I already know he's not on it. He comes out of my blind side hard enough to kill me. I'm not there. I saw the substitution. I take 1 clean shot at a gap in his armor as he passes, and he answers by venting superheated steam directly into my face. I get clear, mostly. My face and arms blister instantly, and the burning tells me exactly how badly this goes if he ever connects. Then he does the smartest thing a Jinchuriki has ever done in my presence. He stops. He backs off, watches me warily, and waits for his 6 teammates. He's stronger than me, and he still isn't gambling. That kind of discipline in a man with a monster in his gut is genuinely unnerving. But he can afford to wait, and I can't. So I run. And that becomes the strangest fight of my life. A chase where I control everything except the outcome. He accelerates. I let him nearly reach me. Then I turn and raise my hands like I'm casting an illusion, and my eyes push out enough pressure that his instincts scream. Every time, he drops his hat brim to block his vision. And every time, the instant he's blind, I switch. The seal I was building for an illusion becomes a fireball, or a wire trap, or a wave of ninja tools. I do it over and over. He's too wary of the eyes to look and too committed to stop chasing, and the beast inside him is wary of my Sharingan too, which makes him hesitate at exactly the wrong moments. The strongest thing on the field, led around by the nose by a boy who never once actually cast the illusion he kept threatening. His 6 teammates don't even rush to help. They hang back and follow, because they've realized I'll lead them straight to Konoha's main force, which I know, and which I allow because my people already moved. The combat unit ambushes him when I bring him into the trees. Ninjutsu, tools, tags, all at once. And he tears a hole in his own seal and cloaks himself in the tailed beast's chakra, and every attack simply stops existing against it. 1 tail becomes 2. Horns take shape on his forehead. He picks a Jonin and charges like a runaway locomotive, and our people scatter, because nothing we have will stop that. So I let them handle him and go take the 6. I gesture to my teammates to hold 5 and leave me the youngest looking special Jonin. Then I take him apart in under 20 exchanges, which surprises me until I understand why. These 4 aren't fighters, they're the leash. Their entire purpose is a sealing technique to shove the 5 tails back inside Ren if he slips. Which means the escort protecting the monster is made of specialists who can barely fight. Good, I kill 3 of them. And then the man who has been watching me for 2 days finally comes out of the ground. A strange armored insect erupts under my feet, 2 meters long, 6-pointed legs, scaled, with unnervingly intelligent eyes. It tries to swallow me. I blow half of it open with an explosive tag. Then it spits out a person, Yoshida Hiroki, the man who killed Akari. He's been riding inside that thing, in a pocket of space, hidden from every sensor and every Byakugan sweep, shadowing us for 2 solid days. The prying feeling I couldn't find. He's why Iwa always knew where we were. And he immediately shouts the one sentence that ruins the plan. That Konoha is running, that we're stalling. Ren doesn't waste a breath. He asks for the direction, gets it, and charges after our main force, smashing through an earth wall and the Jonin who raised it. Nobody can stop him. Everyone chases. And suddenly the clearing is empty except for 2 people, him and me. I could leave. Iwa is closing in, and staying here is stupid. I stay. He opens fast and vicious, kunai work that's simple and horrible and efficient, and for a few seconds I'm back at the worst moment of my life, watching this same blade come at this same angle. But the boy he beat is gone. I stop dodging and start answering, and inside a dozen exchanges I've turned it around. He's the one defending now. He feels it too. I watch it land on his face. He fought me months ago and I was nothing, and the arithmetic in front of him doesn't work. He goes for the bug. It's the only thing keeping him alive. It burrows, ambushes, blocks my shuriken at exactly the right instance, and it's smart enough to be a real problem. So I stop treating it like a pet and start treating it like a target. I bait it out with a feint, force it into the open, and box it, fire to strip its cover. Then 3 kunai with tags, thrown not at it but at the 3 places it will run, one after another, so every direction it turns has a burning tag waiting. It panics. All 3 go off, and while it's stunned, I put my sword through its eye and into its brain. Yoshida screams a name I don't care about, because that creature wasn't a summon to him. It was the thing that stayed after his teacher and squad died, the companion that carried him through his entire career. He built a life around it. I know exactly what that feels like. That's why I killed it first. He comes apart. He hurls a wind blade at me, nearly transparent, fast enough that dodging cost me my left arm nearly to the bone. And while I'm dodging, my eyes are recording. Hand seals, chakra flow, shape, the whole construction, start to finish. I have wind now, which means I have the foundation, so I copy it. The panel writes in a new skill mid-fight, unnamed because I don't know what he calls it. I name it myself, Wind Blade. He killed my teammate and taught me a technique in the same afternoon, and he'll never know he did either. Then I close, and it's over in pieces. His waist is open, his strength is fading. My arm is wrecked, and my sword work doesn't care. I put a blade through his lower back, and he does the last thing available to a man with nothing left. He turns, grinning, and grabs for me with explosive tags already burning on his chest. "Let's die together," he says. I saw him place them. I saw the shift in his shoulder before he turned. I have 3 Tomo, and I have been reading this man's body for 10 straight minutes. Before his hand touches me, I put my left palm on his stomach, and the Rasengan goes off. He folds around it and flies backward, spinning, screaming something that gets swallowed when his own tags detonate in midair. When he lands, there isn't much left to identify. I stand there for a while. I don't feel triumphant. I don't feel clean. Akari is still dead, and this doesn't change one thing about that. There's no version of this where she's alive again because a man is ash. But there's a weight I've been carrying since the day she pulled me out of the way of that blade, and it isn't gone. But it's finally set down. I told her I'd keep the things she bought me. This is what keeping it looks like. Then I go be a medic for a minute, because the war doesn't pause for anyone's grief. I dig a Konoha Jonin out of the wreckage where Ren flung him, half dead, organs ruined. My healing can't fix internal damage yet, but it can stop the bleeding and stabilize him, so I do. And he wakes up asking if I saved him. 4 Iwa scouts show up to finish him while we talk. He plays bait without being asked. I kill all 4 in under a minute, mostly by making sure the strongest one looked me in the eye first. Then we walk into the last battle together, and it's bad. Ren caught the main force while I was busy avenging a dead girl. He went through the Jonin screening him. He broke a defensive wall 2 men raised together, and the man who raised it went into the air along with it. Then he got into the crowd, and what happens next isn't a battle. It's what a tailed beast does to children who have never seen one. Those Chunin and Genin had never faced anything like him. Most of them couldn't perform at even a fraction of their real ability. Not because they lacked courage, but because the aura coming off that man shut their bodies down before he got near them. That's the part that kills them, not fear itself. Slowed reflexes. A half-second late against something moving that fast is the whole difference. And our Jonin couldn't answer because our own people were packed in around him. Anything big enough to hurt Ren kills 20 of ours. So the strongest fighters we had stood there holding techniques they couldn't throw, while our own soldiers functioned as his armor. He knew it too. That's the ugly part. He used it. The only thing that slowed him at all was a handful of Nara binding his shadow in concert, all of them straining together to buy 30 seconds. They used those 30 seconds to peel the youngest ninja out of the pocket and push them onward, while the Jonin closed around him. And then, Iwa's encirclement arrived. So now 400 exhausted Konoha ninja are pinned in open ground against an army, with a monster loose in the middle of the formation. So I do the only thing I'm actually built for. I make myself expensive. I go through their Chunin like a rumor. 20 plus of them, none of whom ever see the blade that does it. Anyone who stands out gets found. After a while, their competent fighters stop being competent on purpose because standing out is how you die. Then the order comes through the telepathy link. Reinforcements from the neighboring camp have arrived. Break northwest, all at once. The whole force pivots. Squads form around Jonin, and the men around me cluster to me specifically, because by now, they know which name to stand behind. 2 Iwa Jonin, each leading 20, box us front and back. My squad braces for a fight to the death. They don't get one. They get a massacre in the wrong direction. I open with a fistful of tagged kunai thrown not at the Jonin, but scattered through his Genin, because formation is the only thing keeping them alive. When it breaks, I go into the middle of them with a body flicker, and I do not come out for several seconds. 10 down, half instantly. The Jonin finally screams at his own men to get clear, and they scatter with visible relief, because none of them wanted to be near me either. Then I show him the newest trick. One hand. A single-handed seal, which should not be possible, which exists because I ground one fire technique to the absolute ceiling and my chakra control finally caught up. He shouts in surprise and leaps clear, and I wasn't aiming at him. I aim the fireballs at everything around him instead, and my people carve straight through the gap that opens. We break out, we link up, we live. Not all of us, not close to all of us, but the line holds and the counterattack does what it was supposed to do, and I walk out of it with a new name and a sword that has gotten frighteningly good. So let me total up where I stand. A year and a half ago, I was a dead office worker with garbage jeans and a screen nobody else could see. Today, I'm a Jonin at 11 years old, 3 Tomoe, evolved to the absolute edge, a sword style I built myself out of 2 others, fire mastered, wind growing, a Rasengan in my palm, healing hands, and a stolen technique the man who taught it to me died mid-lesson. They call me Ghostblade on both sides of the front. I beat the clan's golden child. I outmaneuvered a Jinchuriki. I avenged the only person who ever spent her life to save mine. And I did it standing on a foundation I'd rather not look at directly. A cave full of hollowed-out prisoners. A field hospital I milked while smiling. A ledger I keep in my head and never say out loud. I'm not the hero of this. I stopped auditioning for that role somewhere around the second cave. Here's what's actually waiting. My eyes sit at the very last tick before the Mangekyo. One push and I open the eyes that made my clan a target for 1,000 years, and the moment I do, my mind outruns my body badly enough to start killing me from the inside. So I hold the trigger and race to fix the body first. Konoha is going to lose ground. I know it. In a few months, the front collapses toward home and everything gets worse. And back in the village, in an office nobody visits, a bandaged old man with one visible eye is still holding a folder with my name on it. He sent 2 ghosts to kill me, and they failed. He'll be back, and next time, he won't send Chunin. He thinks he's watching a promising Uchiha child. He's watching a man who has already decided how this ends, and who is currently 1 number away from having the eyes to do it. Let him keep the folder. Let him keep watching. I've got a stat panel he can't see, a farm he doesn't know about, and nothing left to lose but a body I inherited off a floor. He should have burned me while I was still small enough to burn.